Never thought that, but you know, I actually never did.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first bill hearing of the session. We've got a big one. Okay, and it's on here, right?
Yeah.
It's out front. So the order of bills that is out there on the screen is the correct order. We'll be starting with some departmental bills. And the first one will be Senate Bill 276. We're going to put 2 minutes on the clock for everyone's testimony, and you'll be able to see it here on the screens in front, so you'll know when you have close to your time. I think that's about it. We're going to try to move as quickly as possible today. Interestingly enough, the committee has received a dramatic number of pre-file bills, so much more than we've ever had before. So the next 3 hearings are going to be chock full, and we're going to try to move them as quickly as possible. I'll point out when a bill clearly is going to end up in a work session, which the code of that is that know that you'll be invited back if you want to participate in those discussions. And so we can limit some testimony. Obviously, if this is your shot at the apple, this is we want to hear what you have to say. But if it's a complicated enough bill, we like to do work sessions to have all sides communicate with one another. All right, well, let's get rolling. Senate Bill 276. Are we ready?
Good afternoon, Chair Gazzoni, members of the committee. My name is Michael Higgs, and I'm the Director of the Maryland State Department of Assessments and Taxation. Senate Bill 276 would codify existing practices by requiring local permit offices to include an estimated construction cost when submitting a copy of a building permit to their local supervisor of assessments. As a matter of procedure, local permit offices already supply their county supervisor of assessments estimated construction costs when supplying copies of building permits. These estimates assist the department with producing more accurate valuations of improvements and new constructions quicker and more efficiently than if they were not included. For local governments, ensuring this information is accurate is essential to generating revenue, which funds the vital services they provide. By codifying this practice, this bill would ensure that counties and municipalities continue to receive accurate and timely assessment information. Additionally, IT system upgrades often track changes in law for no additional charge to the customer. So we codify this into law, then municipalities upgrading their IT systems will have an easier time upgrading without additional cost. So accordingly, the department respectfully requests a favorable report on Senate Bill 276. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Okay. Move on to Senate Bill 279.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Again, for the record, my name is Michael Higgs, and I'm the Director of the Department of Assessments and Taxation. Senate Bill 279 would establish a $100 filing fee for high-value commercial properties to appeal a property tax assessment to the Maryland Tax Court. In most neighboring jurisdictions, all properties, regardless of their assessed value, are subject to some sort of filing fee imposed either by their local circuit court or state tax court when a real property assessment is appealed. Maryland is unique among its neighboring jurisdictions in that it does not charge a fee for property assessment appeals to the tax court under any circumstances. As a result, both the department's assessors and the Maryland tax court spend a disproportionate amount of resources responding to often baseless appeals that are automatically filed by high-value commercial properties every single assessment cycle. Senate Bill 279 would offset the cost of responding to property assessment appeals by establishing a $100 filing fee made payable to the Maryland tax court. This bill limits the fee to be paid by only revenue-generating properties assessed at $5 million in value or greater, in order to capture only those properties that make up the majority of the department's resources without burdening the average commercial appellant. Accordingly, the department respectfully requests a favorable report on Senate Bill 279. Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just picking up what you said, revenue generating.
Yes, sir.
How do you determine that? Is it?
An income producing property, something that has revenue, that is positive revenue that generates.
I don't have commercial property, so I don't know. Do they fill out a form when they?
Yes, there are forms that are filled out that.
So it's already documented information you're receiving. Okay.
Senator?
Thank you. And maybe I missed, I apologize. The rationale for creating this fee, you mentioned about other jurisdictions, other localities surrounding us, but is that the only reason, just because everyone else is doing it, we should do it now, or like?
No, the rationale is because we spend an inordinate amount of resources preparing for these cases that often get pulled at the last minute when they're just automatically filed as a matter of course, because there is no filing fee. There's no penalty for them filing this other than printing out the paper and sending it in. Our assessors spend hours and hours preparing. The tax court clears room on the docket, and then they end up canceling at the last minute as no-shows or rescheduling several times, and then the hearing never ends up taking place. It's a tremendous drain on resources.
So on that drain on resources, are you running a deficit now because of this issue?
Not about running it. Well, we're always running a deficit. We never have enough resources to fully complete our mission, and we're always trying to figure out which mole to whack when they pop their heads up. But on this particular issue, this would make the department a lot more efficient and effective when handling appeals of this nature. Again, only the largest properties, and it's merely something to take away the incentive to file an appeal every time, whether they intend to go through with it or not.
Last question. The fee that goes to your department only?
I don't know where the fee goes to.
It would go into the general fund.
There we go.
For the general fund. Okay. So there's no rationale that you actually would get that money back.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Alford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And following up on Senator Cordeman's question, how did you land on the $100? Is there any nexus between the cost, as you mentioned, to your department to actually prepare for the cases and show up to the cases? Is there any nexus between the two? And then did you consider, again, as a follow-up, that the revenue would come back to SDAB? I think we all try to connect fees to what it costs government. We want to make that nexus.
Well, this is a Maryland tax court fee, not an SDAT fee. There's 3 levels of appeal. Appeals go from SDAT at the county supervisor level. Second level is PTAB. Third level is Maryland tax court. So it's not an SDAT fee. We are the ones proposing it because it's our assessors that are out there preparing for these cases. We also didn't want to set the fee so that it would be unduly burdensome for commercial appellants. I don't want to restrict people who have a reasonable expectation of some sort of potential for success in their appeal from filing. But we also just want to make sure that we set up a bit of a disincentive from people just mass appealing every time, no matter what. And we figured the $100 was the right balance to strike for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I promise we'll get out by 8 tonight. No. So you said other states have a fee. How much do other states charge?
It's a range depending on the filing fees that they charge. So some of them don't actually have a tax court. They go through this.
We need you on a mic.
Oh, sorry. It ranges, I've seen $180, I've seen $210. They don't all have a tax court that property assessment appeals go through. Some of them go straight to the circuit court. Those would be subject to the filing fees. I can get back to you with specific numbers if you'd like, but there are some that charge per parcel as well. So they start with, say, I saw one that was a $250 fee, and for every additional parcel, they would charge an additional $50.
Did you say how many, did I miss it? Did you say how many of these actually occur every year where they're filed and never actually
We did
pursued?
not say that number. I don't have that data handy.
Okay.
We can get back to you with that.
Okay, great. Member Bailey?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And that was actually one of my two questions. Please, if you could provide us with the number of appeals that are filed that are no-shows. And then the other part of this is the number of appeals where there's an adjustment. And if the $100 fee would be part of that adjustment, right? If there was something that was wrong, if there was a paperwork error.
In the
that
bill,
was
no, it
something
would not
else.
be part of that. But this
So
is
they
the
would-
third level, so hopefully a paperwork error would have been caught at one of the first two levels. And
if you
it
could
wouldn't
just
be at issue in the third level.
If you could provide that, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Very good. Senator McCray, sorry.
No problem, Mr. Chair. I didn't see it in here within the testimony, but did the courts provide any position, or have they taken a position, or have you been in conversations with the courts of how this would impact them?
We have been, the tax court doesn't have a position as far as I understand it. We have been in conversations with them. They're certainly monitoring the bill, but I think as a matter of policy, this isn't something that they've generally weighed on in the past either.
Okay. I have a couple of people to testify, I believe. Kevin Canali. Followed by Bruce Bariano.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, Kevin Canali here on behalf of the Maryland Association of Counties in strong support of this bill. You have my written testimony. I don't want to harp on what's already been discussed, but we are responsible for half the costs for SSAT essentially, and we know that this is something that costs SSAT a lot of money. Excuse me. That the basic principle here is these appeals are automatically filed. There is no skin in the game, and charging this $100 fee, this is the third bite at the apple. So this is not the first time you appeal your assessment. It's for a very, very limited number of high value properties that costs a lot of money to go through this appeals process. So we think just a little bit of skin in the game, it's a nominal fee, makes a lot of sense. And hopefully it will just make people think twice before they automatically appeal an assessment without any real reason to do so. So for those reasons, we'd ask for a favorable report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. Bariano.
Good afternoon. For the record, Bruce Periano. I'm here on behalf of the Maryland Self-Storage Association. Very strong opposition to this bill. Please follow me and read along with the bill, because it's been mispresented, in my view, in terms of the actual wording of the bill. And that's what you're being asked to pass. If you look at the first page of the bill, line 16 and 19, which is current law, it says all the people that can file an appeal, not only a taxpayer, but a municipal corporation, the attorney general, the department, or the governing body of any county can file an appeal from a determination made by the department. So those are the people that can appeal, okay? Then go over to the new language on page 2, please, line 16 to 19. Now say the business, like a self-storage facility, wins at the lower level and they don't file an appeal. But one of these other entities does file an appeal. That's in current law. Then go to the second page, and it reads, for an appeal under the subsection of a determination regarding the assessment for income producing property valued at the taxpayer. Well, maybe we won down below and we don't want the appeal. But under the wording of this, we got to pay $100. It's absurd. Read the language, please, of the bill. That's the way it was drafted. If if the business wins in the first level and an appeal is taken by any one of the ones under the law currently, the winner below has to pay $100. That's not done in the court system. Why should it be done here? Look at the language of the bill. You are asking the taxpayer, regardless of whether they won below or not, to pay the $100. And you're adding a very unnecessary fee. And I would urge you in a favorable report. The bill is very grossly inequitably drafted to people that win at the first level. And they have to defend that, and they got to pay $100. It's really, it's just over the top.
Any questions? Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, I think that's all on that one, correct? No one else? All right, we are up to 283.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Michael Higgs. I'm the director of the Maryland State Department of Assessments and Taxation. Senate Bill 283 would streamline the application process for the homeowner's tax credit by allowing applicants to simply attest to their income in lieu of submitting a tax return if the applicant's income did not require that they file a federal income tax return. The homeowner's tax credit was established to allow struggling homeowners to significantly lower their tax burden if they fall below certain income and net worth thresholds. The department currently requires a detailed accounting of the applicant's income and expenses and reviews bank statements and other supporting documentation to determine income accounts and eligibility. For homeowners who make an income below the amount required for them to file a tax return with the IRS, these requirements can be particularly burdensome and can require multiple filing attempts by the applicant before they are accepted for the credit. Senate Bill 283 creates a more streamlined and equitable process for struggling applicants by allowing them to attest, under penalty of perjury, that they were not required by law to submit a tax return and did not file one. This bill would reduce the need for multiple requests for documentation and allow applicants who are critically in need quick and easy access to vital funding. Accordingly, the department respectfully requests a favorable report on Senate Bill 283. Thank you.
Questions for the department?
Yeah, I mean, I get the problem and I get the solution. What I'm trying to get my head around is on the off chance that there's some people who aren't honest, how do you protect against that?
Penalty of perjury.
But how are you going to find the perjury?
Audits.
Are you set up to audit?
So we have a routine audit procedure in place, and I believe we're checking 20% at present of the filings that go through, and checking with either the IRS,
Okay,
with the
that answers my
comptroller,
question.
things up.
You got a plan. That's good answer. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a couple people testify. Claudia Wilson Randall. Williams Steinwell. Waddell. Stein. Is Steinwell?
Steinwhittle.
Steinwhittle, thank you. Yeah, looks like you're up.
Hello, thank you, Chairman Gazzoni and the rest of the committee for allowing me to speak on this bill. My name is William Steinwhittle. I'm the supervising attorney for the Maryland Legal Aid Bureau Foreclosure Legal Assistance Project, and we are testifying in strong support of Senate Bill 283. We help a great deal of homeowners apply for this credit. We represent low income homeowners or homeowners over the age of 60 or both. And the current documentation requirements can be extraordinarily difficult for our clients to accomplish. Usually what is required by the State Department of Assessments and Taxation, if the person does not file taxes, is their 1099 SSA document for the previous year, or their 1099-R document for the previous year. A lot of a lot of elderly homeowners and low income homeowners do not keep these documents in a safe place, or they do not know the significance of these documents because they do not file taxes. So a lot of times they're extremely difficult to find. I just had the experience 3 weeks ago that a client I currently represent in a foreclosure matter. We spent 2 hours looking through a gigantic pile of documents just to find these two documents. And unfortunately, we were unable to locate one of them, which required us to request them by mail. It is that's another issue. It is extraordinarily difficult for people to obtain these documents on the internet because of issues with security, which are well stated. So a lot of times they have to get it by mail, which slows down the process. Also, this makes it extraordinarily difficult for family members who are helping a lot of these elderly homeowners apply for the credit. We just had to help a homeowner who was eligible for 3 years of back credits, but her daughter was unable to help her because she couldn't find these documents. So Maryland Legal Aid urges a favorable report on Senate Bill 283. Thank you very much, and I can answer.
Thank you. Questions? Yes, Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you go back to the beginning of your statement? You qualified the folks who are in receipt of your services, and you mentioned an age. You said age 60. Is there a particular reason why you mentioned?
We have a grant through Title 3B that allows us to represent people that are over the age of 60, even if they are above our general income guidelines. Outside of that, if they are under 60, we represent people that qualify for Maryland Legal Aid services under the MLSC or LSC guidelines.
Any particular reason why 60?
That's
trying to
just
help a couple of committee members out here.
that's just the Title 3B requirement, and that is in all counties, but some.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to 286.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Again, for the record, my name is Michael Higgs, the Director of the Maryland Department of Assessments and Taxation. The department supports Senate Bill 286. This legislation would extend the deadline for homeowners to apply for the homeowner's property tax credit if they are already enrolled in the Homeowner Protection Program. The department implemented the Homeowner Protection Program to assist vulnerable homeowners who are at risk of entering or are already in tax sale. Under this program, SDAT pays the enrollees delinquent taxes and fees in the form of a loan to be repaid on a schedule that is affordable to each enrollee. The department offers guidance and resources to avoid the risk of entering tax sale in the future and explores other available resources to clear any present debt. Most individuals who qualify for the Homeowners Protection Program also qualify to receive the Homeowners Tax Credit, an existing tool which is vital to keeping vulnerable residents in their homes by significantly reducing their property tax burden. To continue strengthening the Homeowners Protection Program by leveraging existing resources, Senate Bill 286 would allow enrollees to apply for the Homeowners Tax Credit after the standard deadline. This would ensure that residents at greatest risk are able to take emergency measures to leave tax sale, clear their debt, and stay in their homes. Accordingly, the department respectfully requests a favorable report on Senate Bill 286. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, I have Claudia Wilson Randall again, although I'm not sure she's here. Okay, then we can move on to the next bill, 289.
The last SDAT bill of the day. Thank you very much, Chair Gazzoni, members of the committee. My name is Michael Higgs, and I'm the Director of the Maryland Department of Assessments and Taxation. Senate Bill 289 would allow the department to utilize 15% of a special fund toward administrative expenses of the Office of the Director. Currently, funds from fees associated with the expedited business filings are placed into a non-lapsing special fund, 5% of which the department is authorized to use for administrative expenses. Despite the department's continued efforts to modernize and accommodate ever-growing demands for its services, current funding levels do not adequately cover existing procurement needs. Senate Bill 289 provides the department more budgetary flexibility to spend revenue generated by its services by allowing it to access funding without increasing fiscal demands on the state. This funding would be used to support essential administrative functions such as procurement, education for our staff, and better communications for the benefit of the public. Accordingly, the department respectfully requests a favorable report on Senate Bill 289. Thank you.
You? Questions from the committee? Okay, thank you very much. Concludes the hearing on that bill. Moving on to Senator Brooks. Senate Bill 58. Senator?
Okay, good evening, then Chair Gazzoni, Vice Chair Rosapep, and members of this Budget and Tax Committee. For the record, I'm Senator Ben Brooks, represent the 10th Legislative District in Baltimore County. I come today to testify in support of Senate Bill 58, and this is the income tax for senior credit and alteration. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before you on SB 58. The purpose of this bill is to adjust the eligibility and increase the value of income tax credit for individuals age 65 and older. Specifically, eligible taxpayers may claim a state income tax credit toward subtraction toward their state income. If you are an individual, that rate would go up to $1,000, and your if your adjusted gross income is less than $100,000, and if you married filing joint or a surviving spouse or head of household, that would be $2,000 unless a spouse is under age of 65. Now there are safeguards in place should the September Board of Estimates report is less than 7.5% of the March Board of Estimates report, and those offer some safeguards there. And according to the U.S. Census, 16.9% of Maryland population is over age 65. Now these seniors live on low income, some on fixed income, and the basic cost for utilities, healthcare, and other expenditures constantly go up. So what we're trying to do is trying to make it easier to keep these citizens and their relatives in the state of Maryland, and try to parallel on what some of our neighboring states are doing to try to attract Marylanders, so these changes would have a very favorable impact on our senior citizens. And for that reason, I ask for a favorable report on SB 58.
Thank you, Senator. I assume this is actually your panel, right? I should have called them up with you probably, or maybe it isn't.
I should have myself. Tammy, how are you? Good.
Tammy Bresnahan and Paul Schwartz.
Good afternoon. You want me to start?
Yeah, please. Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee. It's nice to be seen here in the 2024 General Assembly. AARP is working hard to strengthen retirement security, and we are fully in support of Senate Bill 58. The rising cost of essential necessities, like Senator Brooks explained, including groceries, utilities, prescription drugs, is of significant concern for millions of retirees. AARP study in 2017, 22% of Maryland residents stopped taking their medication because they couldn't afford it. Older Marylanders on fixed incomes, one illness can put them in the hospital or in a nursing home or in a assisted living facility, which can just be outrageous and deplete. We have one retiree that depleted his 401k, his IRA, based on an illness that he has, where he pays out-of-pocket costs for his drugs of over $3,000 per month. Within our state, Marylanders over 50 create an economic impact greater than their portion of the population. As the percentage of state residents over 50 continues to grow, which it is, there are more older people over the age of 65 in Maryland than there currently are children in public school. So they are a significant contributor to the Maryland economy. We ask you to consider this bill or other bills that take the relief of paying taxes off of our retirees, keep them in Maryland. Again, we offer true support for Senate Bill 58. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Paul Schwartz, and I represent the seniors who would like to retire in place in Maryland. According to Comptroller Brooke Learman, there will be a sharp decline in revenue for fiscal year 2024 and 2025. One of the main reasons why Maryland's economic recovery has been so slow is because total population growth is declining. While Maryland continued to see a population decline, states like the Carolinas are seeing continued increases in population, especially among retirees. We can't get tax relief for retirees because of loss of revenue resulting from population decline, yet the population decline can be tied directly to the high cost of retiring in Maryland. And you can't rely on the fiscal note, whatever it is, because the fiscal note does not reflect the complete costs associated with the bill. Legislative Services does not have the capability to calculate cost savings and incorporate that calculation into the fiscal note. What they do is simply they check with the Comptroller's office and take a hard count of lost tax revenue and give you that figure in the fiscal note without factoring in any cost savings over the long term. Let's make it a little bit easier for retirees to retire in place right here in Maryland and not watch them move to a more tax-friendly state and thereby lose their tax money, including sales tax, fuel tax, and property tax. We passed the original bill, which was a bipartisan bill co-sponsored by our own Sarah Elfrith and Steve Hershey 2 years ago in a gubernatorial election year. Let's simply adjust that bill for inflation this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, sure.
Could I keep the 19 seconds that I just used for next time I'm here?
You can keep them wherever you want them. Okay, Senator Benson. Senate Bill 202.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Yeah, if you have a panel, please bring them up.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. I just want to tell you all, I'm just very glad to be here. And we've had over 100 organizations and people to respond to this most needed piece of legislation. And I am very delighted and excited to present to you this afternoon Senate Bill 202, Income Tax Caregiver Tax Credit. And even though I may give this testimony, I really cannot say enough about the importance of caregivers. I really cannot. There is a national move across the country right now that's being headed up by AARP. And if you look out in the audience, you will see that there are a number of members who are here this afternoon to give vigorous and full throat support. And I'd like to ask you, Mr. Chair, if I could have those members to stand just for 2 minutes, if that's okay.
Sure. You don't need to stand for 2 minutes, but thank you. But thank you all for coming.
I want to thank them so much for coming down this afternoon. So good afternoon, Chair Kuzon, Vice Chair Rosapep, and members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. I'm here to present a Senate Bill 202, the Caregiver Tax Credit. This legislation, which has a significant impact on many people in our state, addresses the issues and, in fact, the crisis facing families who are providing care for elderly or disabled family members. Certain caregivers do not earn a fair wage for the amount of work they endure daily, and working class families cannot afford to pay them their desired wage. How does one accommodate the needs of caregivers who have an essential role in providing quality of life to people who are elderly and people who are disabled? The caregiver tax credit will directly impact the caregivers by providing them with a credit against their state income tax. The goal of this legislation is to grant some caregivers a credit against their the state income tax equal to 30% of their eligible expenses that exceed $2,000 in value. This is essential in granting a form of amnesty toward our caregivers initiatives across the state. Out of 5 million people in Maryland, 11% of their citizens have disabilities, and 16.3% are considered elderly. When combined, equal to a total of 27.3% of Maryland's residents eligible for caregivers' needs. The yearly wage within caregivers' professions rank low outside of private agencies and are given little relief throughout their career. These conditions directly correlate to overexhaustion, which affects their quality of services provided to the residents of Maryland. These statistics emphasize the importance of caregivers and highlight their pay disparities in correlation with their work. Caregivers who are assisting individuals with disabilities often start their workday before their client wakes up in the morning and after they fall asleep at night, resulting in shifts exceeding 8 hours a day. Individuals that need 24-hour assistance cannot be left alone, which can put additional stress on caregivers because they cannot be relieved to go home until the next caregiver comes to work. Insurance does not like to pay for overtime, which also induces stress to caregivers. The unreliable work schedules make it difficult for caregivers to have an additional job to help pay for bills. Therefore, I am respectfully asking that this committee will please issue a favorable report for Senate Bill 202. And I thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Senator. Can begin. Why don't you introduce yourselves as you go along the way?
Good afternoon, Chairman Gazzoni and members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. I'm Tammy Bresnahan. I'm the Senior Director of Advocacy for AARP Maryland. AARP Maryland and its more than 850,000 members support this, and we thank Senator Benson for bringing this bill forward. As Senator Benson described, we did a report, AARP 2023, 660 hours per year a caregiver provides care for a loved one. It is estimated that the total cost of that uncompensated care, if that person was like in a Medicaid nursing home, would be over $12 million. Just indulge me for 1 second. It's December the 20th, and you get a phone call, and it's from your nephew at 6 o'clock in the morning, and he says they're rushing mom to the hospital, and you know, she can't use her left side. And so she's 70 years old. And I know that Senator King can agree with me that you don't think of anything else, you just leave. And so after that, they diagnosed that she's had a stroke. And that she's going to need, 24-hour care around the clock. So she has 4 children, 2 that live out of state, a sister here, and 2 sons that have 8 children between them under the age of 18. And so your Christmas plans change, your life changes because you have to make sure that you can go over and stay with her for those 24 hours after she's released from the hospital. And then she stays in your lower level so that because she's got 12 steps upstairs. So at any given time, any of us can be a family caregiver, and any of us, our lives will have to change. This is the way that the state of Maryland can say to family caregivers, this is how we appreciate you. We ask for a favorable report. We've built a coalition, and Dorinda Adams is part of the coalition, and she's just going to talk to you a couple seconds about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman and Vice Chair and members of this committee. My name is Dorinda Adams, and I am a retired state of Maryland employee who is also here in the capacity today representing AARP as a volunteer. I have had an amazing career working with family caregivers in my recent life in that arena. And in addition to that, I have also, even as I was preparing to be here today, thought about who have been family caregivers that have been part of my personal life. And I have 11 people that just come to mind right now. So I'm here on behalf of those 11 people, as well as all of the family caregivers that I have had the honor to meet across this state with a 22-year career regarding supporting family caregivers. I also want to talk briefly, just to mention a couple of the organizations: Alzheimer's, Easter Seals, NAMI Maryland, the Maryland Commission on Caregiving, Hands of Hope, MS Society, the Maryland Health Association. Those are a few of the organizations that have come together to build a coalition. And I'm watching the clock, and so I want to leave you with this thought. When spider webs unite, we can bring down the lion. I heard that proverb when early in my career, and it has led me well. And I am asking all of you to consider joining me in expanding that web. Thank you.
Thank you.
This bill, Mr. Chairman, was presented last year. One of the problems with the bill that many of our committee members and people see down here is the cost that's associated with this bill. We're willing to sit down with you all to compromise. We just want them to have something that shows us that we really care about them. So if you look at the fiscal note, it's very, very high. But I'd ask you all, please, let's sit down and see how we can work it out with a figure that it would be much more acceptable on behalf of these caregivers.
Thank you. Sir?
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the committee, committee chair. My name is Anthony Davis. I am Director of Advocacy for Consumer Law at Maryland Legal Aid, and I'm also a family caregiver. I submitted my written testimony chock full of statistics regarding how much families spend, the struggles that they endure, trying to juggle both working outside the home and caregiving and living on a shoestring budget. For an example, in my capacity, the individuals we represent, a low-income, wage-earning family, let's say they bring home $3,000 a month. Okay, from that $3,000, they're spending about 35 to 40% of that on shelter, on either their mortgage or their rent. You have food, you have utilities, and another 25% of out-of-pocket costs for caregiving. When I say caregiving, basic necessities for continence products like diapers, you're talking medicines, you talk about just trying to get other people to help out inside the home. Many of our clients are caregivers as an occupation, and they make very low wages. We know that budgets are tight. We all see the news about the budget shortage that Maryland is facing. Our clients are the very definition of tight budgets and managing under tight budgets. They make very hard decisions. When I'm just talking about rent, food, utilities, transportation, and care, it's hard to figure out what to cut. Okay. When we look at this bill from a legal standpoint, and we look at the clients that we serve, what stands out to us is, as Senator Vincent says, it shows that someone's thinking about them, and an influx of 30% of their costs over 2,000 would severely will help greatly impact it. Thank you. We urge a favorable report.
Thank you. Questions for the panel? Okay, I have a number of other people signed up. Paul Schwartz, Morgan Mills, Teresa Robertson, Priscilla Kenya. And then I have two people online. So please, everyone come up who is here to testify, who've signed up to testify. And you can just start as soon as you get settled.
Go first?
Sure.
Okay. I'm still Paul Schwartz, on behalf of National Active Retired Federal Employees, NARF. Medicaid is more than a quarter of Maryland's budget, and nursing homes account for a major portion of Medicaid expenditures. Anything that extends the period of home care and delays entrance into nursing homes saves Maryland money. There's really some truth to the saying, you have to spend money to make money. Now, I mentioned before when I was just on about the problems with the fiscal note. One industry that does have the ability to project long-term costs is the insurance industry. If they can do it, there's no excuse for legislative services not being able to do the same. From the recent report from AARP entitled Valuing the Invaluable, we know that in 2021, about 38 million family caregivers in the US provided an estimated 36 billion hours of care to adults with serious or disabling health conditions, with economic value of these unpaid contributions totaling approximately $600 billion. In Maryland, an estimated 760,000 caregivers provided about 710 million hours of care at an estimated value of 12.5 billion with a B dollars. This is not captured in the fiscal note. And that is, if this bill doesn't get passed, let it not be because of the fiscal note, because the fiscal note, time and time again, doesn't reflect the true cost of these bills, any of these bills, at least none of the bills I've ever testified on behalf of. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Gazone, Vice Chair Rosa Pepp, and esteemed members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. My name is Morgan Mills, and I represent the National Alliance on Mental Illness Maryland, or NAMI Maryland. We're a nonprofit that offers education, support, and advocacy for persons with mental illness, their families, and the wider community. Family members and caregivers often play a large role in helping and supporting the millions of people in the U.S. who experience mental health conditions each year. We are dedicated to ensuring that caregivers are equipped with the resources they need to provide care to their loved ones. By providing financial relief, especially for expenses related to the disability of a major mental illness, this tax credit becomes a vital tool in enabling our caregivers to continue their role without facing undue financial hardships. This tax credit is a strategic investment in the well-being of individuals, of families, and Marylanders at large. For these reasons, we urge a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Teresa Robertson. I'm the co-chair of the Maryland Commission on Caregiving, and today I represent 760,000 family caregivers in the state of Maryland. many who were long-term caregivers like myself. I took care of my husband for about 30 years of my life. That's about half my life. And when we first married, I had a career as a project manager in DC. After a while, I had to take a job closer to home and then a job with more flexibility, of course, less pay. And then soon I had to give up my dreams as a project manager and turn my hobby into my only stream of income along with his Social Security check. Over the years, I depleted my retirement fund. We had to go through 2 home modifications just to be able to keep our home. And I don't want you to feel sorry for me. Today, I'm here along with Maryland Commission on Caregiving, Easter Seals, AARP, Hope for the Maryland Caregiver, Hands of Hope, and others to let you know this legislation is important. It matters. And you may not want to do it for me, but I want you to think about those people in your family, your cousin, your sister, your neighbor, your friend, someone in your church or synagogue who is caring for someone who they love. They made the decision to sacrifice what's important to them for someone who needs them at that time. This bill doesn't go far enough, but it's a great start. There are many constituents in the middle, just like me, who would benefit the most. We make too much for social services, but not enough to not feel the financial burden that comes along with our decision to care for those we love. We're stuck in the middle, trying to figure out how to keep the lights on and buy medication, how to work and how to make sure our loved ones are safe. There are not enough adult daycare centers, not enough quality nursing homes. If you don't want to do it for me, again, do it for those in your family who you love, because I'm sure you know at least one person who this can help. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess got to jump over. Oh, it's gonna go over. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Priscilla Cania. I'm a lead volunteer advocate with AARP, and I'm here to ask for a favorable vote on SB 202. I think I speak for far too many Marylanders as I share my story. I'm gonna joke. My parents were hardworking people who raised 4 children and numerous pets. Yeah, I know.
Take your time.
They first met in high school and they married after my father served in the Navy in World War II. My mother was a math whiz who created complex math problems for fun. She walked a couple of miles every day during her lunch breaks, and she was a great baker. My father was a mechanic and commander of his VFW chapter. My mother developed dementia. She masked it well for a long time, and my father was her caretaker. He'd turn off the burners, he'd remind her of appointments, and he acted as her memory. That worked well until he was hospitalized with a non-life-threatening problem. And in the hospital, he contracted MRSA. He was bounced back and forth between the hospital and nursing homes. And my mother wanted him home. She was home alone at that point, and she desperately wanted to take care of him. That finally happened until a visiting nurse took one look at the situation and said, no, she couldn't do it. And she removed him and sent him to a nursing home where he died alone in the middle of the night. We hired caretakers for my mother, but she thought they were there to hurt her. So she ended up ultimately in a nursing home for memory care. If a caregiver tax credit had been possible, one of our family members could have taken a leave from work, and both of my parents could have spent their final days in the place that they loved with the people that they loved. So I asked for favorable support on SB 202. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Any questions for this panel? Thank you all very much. We have 2 people. Oh, just one person online, Gertie Wilson. Wilson.
Hello, good afternoon, Chair Kazone, Vice Chair Rosa Pepe, and members of the Budget and Tax Committee. My name is Gertie Wilson, and I am a member of NARMI, Maryland. But most importantly, I am a caregiver. My son was diagnosed with schizophrenia during his senior year of college and is now 41 years old. I have been retired for 9 years, and caring for my son is my full-time job. The amount of time and personal expense of supporting him is difficult to calculate because as a parent, no amount of time is enough, and any expense that I can possibly cover is not too much. A caregiver tax credit will benefit Marylanders like me who do not have the resources to provide for all the healthcare, safety, mobility, and independence our loved ones need. Personally, I am a single parent and caregiver, and I only have one bathroom in my home. My son needs his own bathroom. I have gotten several estimates over the years, but I hesitate to pay for such a major renovation to my home when I never know if I will need money for other out-of-pocket expenses in support for my son. Senate Bill 202 specifically allows a tax credit for alterations of the caregiver's primary residence to enable or assist the qualified family member to be more mobile, safe, or independent. My son is living with mental illness, but he is a grown man. I wish he could have his own bathroom for the sake of his independence and dignity. Senate Bill 202 could help make this a reality. For the sake of my son and for caregivers like me, please give a favorable report to Senate Bill 202. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions for Ms. Wilson? Okay, thank you all very much. That concludes the testimony on Senator Benson's Bill 202. We'll move on to Senator Watson, Senate Bill 40. You have a panel, you can bring them up.
Is Gloria coming? Is Gloria speaking to? Oh, she did, okay. Well, good afternoon, Chair Gazzoni, Vice Chair, and members of Budget and Tax. I'm here to present Senate Bill 40, State Department of Education, Driver's Education, and Career and Technical Education funding. The purpose of this bill is to support the mobility of the future of our workforce. How do we increase our workforce? We improve the ability to get folks to work and to job sites. We have inadvertently removed several valuable classes from our schools: woodworking, metal shop, home economics, but also driver's ed. Currently, no public school systems are certified by MVA to provide driver's ed. The Federal Perkins Act, reauthorized in 2018, that runs through 2031, is aimed at promoting CTE, but the bill does not deal with transportation. This bill before you today aligns with that Perkins Act to provide resources to allow the Coalition for Public Safety Training in Schools to participate in an effort to ensure that these students can learn to drive in our current public schools. I will pass this over to Mr. Bill Taylor from the Coalition of Public School Safety Training in Schools to go into some detail.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, and members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. My name is William Taylor of Fort Washington, Maryland. I am the founder and executive director of the Coalition for Public Safety Training in School. My purpose for being here today is to support Bill SB 40 for the career and technical education to provide students with the skills in driver's education to become college and career ready by having a driver's license in hand. In addition, this bill will support other workforce development initiatives that will enable students to be successful in their career path. The Coalition of Public Safety Training in School has developed a deep and abiding commitment to ensure there's a balanced representation in education opportunity for our students. I am an advocate for opportunities that will support education and allow all students to become productive and contributing members of our community. We cannot afford to lose sight of driver's education, which is no longer provided in high school. It is critical for our students to have this opportunity to learn and obtain the skills necessary to operate a vehicle. I applaud the enhanced focus on Senate Bill 40 and ask this committee to take the necessary action to include the Coalition for Public Safety Training in Schools incorporated an annual budget to help increase the number of students that have access to driver's education and career and technical training. this bill helps to grow our economy. I ask that the committee to vote favorably in Bill 40. Thank you for the opportunity to address this committee. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. By the way, I don't have you on my list. So if we can get you with one of our staff members as soon as you finish your testimony, so we can get all your contact information. That'd be good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Kevin O'Keefe. I'm here on behalf of the Independent Electrical Contractors Chesapeake, which is located in Laurel, Maryland. We represent 200 contractor members and nearly 15,000 employees. But for the purpose of this bill, more importantly, we have nearly 1,000 apprentices. And it's very important that apprentices have the opportunity, the ability to get to job sites. And this bill will help get young people the driver's license that they will need so that they can travel around to various job sites. And I was just reading an article last week in a construction trade magazine, and one of the challenges of worker shortages is transportation issues. So for that reason, I hope that you will give this bill a favorable report.
Thank you. Questions? I think we have two people on virtual. Did you have a question? Okay.
Let me also acknowledge we have Senator Gloria Lawler is here with us supporting this bill. I don't want to go without acknowledging her.
Trying to bring up our virtual witnesses. There we go. Mr. Maxwell.
Good afternoon, Chairman Kazone and Vice Chair Rosapep and members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. My name is Kevin Maxwell, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify in support of Senate Bill 40. The goals are enumerated in the bill, but significantly, having a driver's license is a requirement for many employment opportunities, including in public safety. Having worked with the Coalition for Public Safety Training in Schools, while I was the CEO of the Prince George's County Public School System, and having previously served on their board, I speak with experience and feel strongly that this bill will close a gap in opportunity for our children, particularly our most needy children, and will encourage them to seek employment in public service. I ask that you please support this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions? Do we have another?
I've asked them to turn the video on and he's in there. But he's not the one. He's in there somewhere. His name is
Schmelzer, right? Mr. Schmelzer. Have you turned your video on? Mr. Schmelzer? Okay, I think that's. There's nothing we can do about that. Senator Rosapep, you have a comment or question?
First of all, I'll channel Grant Smelter. If we were able to see and hear him,
yes,
he would be speaking in very strong support of this legislation. And so I wanted to be sure that message got across. And sorry he can't be with us. I want to thank Senator Watson for his leadership and Mr. Taylor and Mr. Maxwell and Mr. Wells for this. This is a proposal for a specific program in Prince George's County, and I come from Prince George's County. And I'm enthusiastic about doing this. It's very, very important. There's another bill coming with Senator Watson and me that it addresses the same issue statewide in terms of career and technical education. This is in the top 3 issues that has come up over the last several years in our statewide discussions of these high school levels of apprenticeships in the blueprint. I've been topic discussion this fall in the Apprenticeship 2030 Commission. It's exactly as Senator Watson said. About 30 years ago, we took driver's ed out of the schools, and that was okay for middle and upper middle class parents who could pay for a driver's ed in a suburban state and in a rural state. And even in the urban areas, you need to drive sometimes. I've heard this complaint from the folks at the Port of Baltimore because you need a driver's license to be able to operate inside the port, not just drive to the port. And the result is that we are denying working class and low income kids enormous job opportunities. We're making them, we create another barrier for them to become productive. And so I just strongly support this bill. It's a very important priority, and I hope we'll figure out a way to make some progress on it this year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you all very much, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senate Bill 121, Senator Ellis.
Ready to go?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
great. Good afternoon, Chair Guzoni, Vice Chair Rosapap, and members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. Arthur Ellis, Senator from District 28, Charles County, here to present Senate Bill 121, calls the Southern Maryland Fund and responsibilities to play the pool. This bill is really simple. And it's like 4 lines. Requires the College of Southern Maryland to reopen the pool that they closed without any public notice, no hearings. And the important thing about that pool is our seniors depend on it. So we have like 3 indoor pools in Charles County that are school-based, and the seniors can't use that during the day. And when swim season start, those pools are unavailable to everyone outside of the school. Why is that important? Seniors especially have rehab, water aerobics and stuff like that, so that they have to perform for their health. And there's nowhere for them to go in Charles County for that. College of Southern Maryland is a public institution governed by the laws of Maryland. And a lot of our citizens find business, just shut things down, no notice. Now working with the county to create a transition. So our county commissioners know that this issue is very important. So they've moved up their plans to create and to build a aquatic facility in Charles County. And they moved it up to start the project in 2025, fiscal 25, which will take probably 3 years to complete. But until then, we're asking simple. College of Southern Maryland, consider the residents, the seniors, the swim team kids, and keep that facility open until we have a replacement. It's a simple request. And this body granted that request, I thought, and provided $1 million to the College of Southern Maryland to repair the facility, not build a brand new facility, repair it and have that transition available for our citizens. And they dug their heels in even further and said, we're just determined not to do it. And so many of my constituents feel that that's not how we treat our public. That's not how we treat our seniors, our kids, our swim team, our residents. You know, we have to be responsible public citizens. We just can't unilaterally do things when it's possible to do things. Why just keep saying no, no, no? Down the road in Laird-Town, probably an hour's drive from Waldorf, from 45 minutes drive from La Plata. It's a nice new facility. CSM is operating in conjunction with the St. Mary's County Parks folks. They have a nice transition. CSM is paying the entire College of Southern Maryland, paying the entire operating cost for that facility, paying the electric bill, all that. But not one penny of that can be diverted to work with us in Charles County to create that public good, seniors, youth. It's just mind-boggling to me, especially when this body put in the budget $1 million for that transition to happen. And so we have witnesses here to basically say what the need is. And I request from this body a favorable report on Senate Bill 121. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Senator. Questions for Senator? Diane, Sandoval? Sandal? So I'm getting that right? You'll help me out, I'm sure.
Yes, it's Sandoval. Thank you.
What's this? So, are all your witnesses, these are all favorable witnesses?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can begin. I think maybe we don't have one of you signed up, but go ahead and introduce yourselves and we'll make sure we get you after your testimony.
Good afternoon. I am Diane Sandoval, and I am a former staff member and swimmer at the College of Southern Maryland La Plata campus. I'm here in support of Senate Bill 121. The La Plata community depended on CSM school, and we urgently need it reopened. We only have 3 public pools, none open during the day. So for 9 months of the year, we don't have daytime access to a pool. The county is surrounded by water, yet many of us can't even get swim lessons because there simply isn't enough space. Our senior citizens are arguably the most affected by the closure. Many of them relied on CSM's pool for aquatic therapy because it was open during the day. A room full of senior citizens came to testify at a recent county commissioners meeting. They testified that their physical mobility and strength has suffered from no longer having hydrotherapy and aquatic exercise during the day. One man, a former health teacher at CSM, prided himself on lifelong fitness. He testified that the CSM's pool kept him healthy. However, the closure stopped his daily swims. And since he's undergone multiple joint replacement surgeries, even heart surgery, and now he uses a walker. Nighttime driving isn't an option for most seniors, so CSM's unique daytime pool access was critical to their health. Our seniors are now in pain. They're becoming immobile and they're suffering unnecessarily. Our only competitive youth swim team, Southern Maryland Aquatics, swam at the college nightly for 3 hours. However, the closure forced them to relocate and turn away many children, including my own, who would have otherwise been able to join. This has weakened our county's swimmers as a whole, including our high school teams. Meanwhile, surrounding counties have much larger and stronger swim teams and aquatic programs because they built multiple facilities. La Plata has been overdeveloped residentially, yet within 2 miles of CSM's pool, thousands more homes are being constructed. Unfortunately, that large college pool still sits empty. We're not asking for a state-of-the-art complex. We're just asking to simply renovate an existing pool. Our community desperately needs it. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm here to express my support for this bill. Swimming is a uniquely inclusive form of exercise that accommodates individuals with a wide range of abilities and disabilities. For many in our community, swimming may be the only viable form of exercise, making the availability of a suitable facility critical. The CSM La Plata pool provided that vital resource for our residents for many years. Without it, we only have the 3 high school indoor pools. Those pools are closed during school hours and are extremely busy in the evenings. There are no more Charles County supported daytime hydrotherapy classes or lap swimming options. Hydrotherapy is a crucial form of rehabilitation for many individuals with disabilities or chronic conditions. The buoyancy of water alleviates stress on joints, making it an essential component of their treatment and recovery. A dedicated pool open during the day throughout the year provides a lifeline to those in our community who require these therapeutic services. The La Plata pool is designed for lap swimming and was used by the county's only competitive year-round youth swim team, Southern Maryland Aquatics. The coach testified at the county hearing for this bill. She said that the team has had to cut their roster because of insufficient swim lane availability. Reopening the La Plata pool would provide a much-needed training ground for our team. At the county level hearing for this bill, the county council meeting room and the overflow room were both filled to capacity. Most of the people there were elderly. They came out at night to show their support for this bill. One of the most poignant speakers was a lady on a walker. She said that she has MS and couldn't walk at all before doing hydrotherapy at CSM. She explains that she needs the pool to be able to stay mobile. Sadly, she is just one of the many disabled county citizens who relied on that pool for their physical therapy. Thank you.
Thank you. What was your name, ma'am?
Catherine Tracy.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Colonel Margaret W. Schmidt, retired United States Air Force.
We'll have to get your info afterwards.
Okay. I'm writing in regard to the Senate Bill 121, CSM La Plata Pool Senate Bill. I am in favor of reopening the swimming pool at the La Plata College of Southern Maryland campus. For years, I swam a mile a day at the La Plata pool. It helped me to succeed in my U.S. Air Force fitness test 100% of the time. More importantly, it helped me to perform my job as a flight nurse on combat support sorties, bringing home hundreds of wounded combatants from Iraq and from Afghanistan. Additionally, now I've been advised by my orthopedic surgeon to swim to help me recover from repair of a fractured arm and shoulder replacement surgery. I believe the pool at La Plata CSM campus is my best option. Other pools at the high schools are not available until after school hours and don't have as many lanes available. We have a large military footprint in Charles County, including active duty and retirees. Opening the pool would show support for our active military, all of whom have to pass a fitness test. I respectfully request that we bring this amazing resource Charles County already has back to life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Questions for the panel? Senator Benson?
I just, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
I'm very curious. What's happening to it now? It's just sitting and nothing is happening?
Exactly.
Is it indoor?
It is indoors. Yes, ma'am.
It's indoor. Senator, what have they specifically, I'm thinking about the pool at the Prince George's Community College that is fully utilized by our senior citizens and disabled. It is wonderful. I'm just trying to figure out why it is that it just sits there and the doors closed and the lights are out.
Yes, ma'am.
What's their reasoning? Is it the liability or what do they say is the problem?
It's cost too much money.
I think we're going to hear, Senator, I think they're coming up. We've got a couple people, one evidently is here in opposition and then two more on virtual, and I believe they are representatives from the college. So we'll get an answer out of them.
Thank you.
Any other questions for this panel? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, committee members.
Thank you. In person, I have maybe Yolanda Wilson. Is she here? Okay. Ms. Wilson, go ahead.
Yeah.
You can begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Yolanda Wilson, and I'm the president of the College of Southern Maryland. I'd like to express my opposition to Senate Bill 121, and as such, draw your attention to the following highlights in my full testimony. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts. First, Senate Bill 121 undermines the college's fiduciary legal duty to locally determine the allocation of resources based on our core mission of student success. The statutory authority and responsibility to allocate resources from multiple sources is vested in our Board of Trustees. The board must consider and balance the interests of multiple stakeholders with the ultimate goal to reach decisions in the best interest of the college and our students. Second, Senate Bill 121 is an unfunded mandate that requires the college to pay for La Plata pool renovations from our operational budget, circumventing the capital projects funding formula of a 75% state, 25% county split. allocating 3 to 20 million toward pool renovations with an additional $350,000 to $600,000 annually for operating costs does not align with the college's goal of using every possible resource to support our most vulnerable students. And during this period of tightening the budgetary belt strap statewide does not advance fiscal stewardship of our institutional resources. Even more, the college has engaged in continued dialogue with members of the Charles County Delegation, the Charles County Board of Commissioners, and interested residents to identify a viable aquatic solution. Through this deliberative process, the La Plata pool was determined not to be feasible due to its age, condition, and restricted use. Because of the state's capital improvement project guidelines, CSM would never be able to renovate the La Plata pool by December 2024 and would have to extend the timeline 1 to 2 years to adhere to the state's process. So in closing, we support the aquatics recommendation from the Charles County Board of Commissioners as stated in our December 2023 letters. And we ask the members of the Senate Committee for an unfavorable report. Thank you.
Questions? Senator Zucker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I know that my colleagues from Southern Maryland, Senator Ellis, and others and his team were helpful in getting $1 million for the pool last year in capital money. Where is it?
It hasn't been spent.
Okay, so what are you gonna do with it? Not spend it?
In order to be able to renovate the pool, the minimum feasibility study that we had updated in October 2023 state said it would cost a little over $3 million for the basic renovation. It's an 8-lane lap pool. And to do the more advanced renovation, it was a 3-tier approach, would cost on upwards of $20 million. So the 1 million did not take care of at least the basic renovations of the pool, which was a minimum of over 3 million. Because of our capital improvement project process for the community colleges, we would have had to submit that renovation proposal and ask for additional funding to help support that.
And have you made that request?
No, we've been in conversations with Charles County Board of Commissioners and others because they had an aquatics facility on the table. Our process would have taken about 1 to 2 years to do an RFP, to go through the state, et cetera. And what Charles County has determined that they would do is accelerate their timeline. So by the time we got our process going, then it would have been time for them to start their process. So we would have been in conflict as far as the timeline is concerned.
About the state conflict of timeline?
No, the conflict that they had accelerated their timeline that would have caused their reporting and their construction to start around the same time ours would have started because of our state process of approval.
Okay, and then finally, you also received 1.65 million for Student Resource Center. Has that been spent?
Yes, we're in the process of building that now. That was a part of our master's facilities plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Doctor, nice to see you today and thank you for coming. I just wanted to clear up something because my colleague had mentioned about St. Mary's County and the agreement between the college and St. Mary's. And I understand that the college and the pool that we have in St. Mary's, which is much smaller than what existed. If I understand the numbers right, you're losing about $500,000 a year in the pool at St. Mary's, and that it is in jeopardy right now because you've asked the county commissioners to take over funding that. Is that not correct?
That is correct. So the college pays for the operating overhead costs, so the lights, electric, et cetera. That equates to about $12,000. That was a lease agreement they entered into a few years ago.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up, that this isn't just a Charles County issue, that the same thing is now facing us in St. Mary's.
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
exactly right. Thank you,
Thank
Senator
you.
Bailey. And that facility too is a standalone facility that was much newer than the La Plata pool that didn't require the same types of renovations. Thank you.
Is the pool as it exists, is it unsafe?
Yes, sir. We did the feasibility study, and again, just to bring it up to ground zero where it could be used, just the existing structure, which is an 8-lane pool, would have been over $3 million in construction costs. So the pool is sitting there, it's empty. There's no water in it. It's locked up. It's sitting there empty. There's really no good seating around it. There's no areas for children, if they wanted like a play area, there's really not a therapeutic portion of the pool like you see in St. Mary's. It's an 8-lane lap pool.
And just to be clear, because I mean, those sound like additional amenities to the pool, and I'm sure that those would be needed and wanted, but just to be clear, when I say unsafe, has someone ruled that is dangerous for people to be at the pool?
You mean once it's renovated or currently?
No, currently.
Well, currently it's empty, so but even in its current state, it is not safe to be in the pool because the pool is not in good condition. The pool is over 50 years old.
Okay. Senator, Haley.
Just a quick question about the actual pool.
Sure.
With what's unsafe and the $3 million. Is that the actual pool structure, basically what's going below ground? Or is it the building itself included in that $3 million?
It's the pool structure itself.
So, okay, so the building's fine. It's just the hole in the ground.
That's exactly right. The pool exists within our larger physical education building, so we still have other things occurring in the building as a whole.
Okay.
Any other questions, President? Okay, we have 2 people online, is that right? Sean Coates and Sonia Cox.
Good afternoon. As Chair of the Board of Trustees for the College of Southern Maryland, I am speaking in opposition to Senate Bill 121. You have a copy of my full testimony, and I draw your attention to the following highlights. In 2021, the CSM trustees unanimously decided to close the 50-year-old pool due to significant pool safety concerns, as well as other factors. We saw clearly that the lack of amenities now considered standard in modern aquatic centers resulted in CSM experiencing declining use over the past decade, which in turn led to ongoing operational deficits. CSM has been facilitating conversations for over a year with Charles County leaders to identify a viable solution to address the community's interest for an aquatic facility in Charles County. CSM provided our stakeholders with 3 proposals to repair the La Plata pool, ranging between $3 million to repair as is and $19 million to repair and expand the facility. Ongoing operating costs are estimated between $350,000 to $600,000 per year based on the type of facility and the community's usage. Senate Bill 121 requires the college to fund all of this, and the trustees have agreed that this is a venture that CSM can neither operationally afford nor sustain. After detailed discussions with our stakeholders and further study and deliberations by the Charles County Commissioners, the Commissioners advised in December that the La Plata pool, due to its age, poor condition, significant safety concerns, and restricted use, is not an option as a recreational facility for Charles County citizens. Further, the Commissioners presented plans to invest in and expedite a new county-owned and operated multi-generational facility that will last 30 to 40 more years and that will increase aquatic amenities and expand access. Senate Bill 121 is an unfunded local mandate and oversteps the local authority to complete its feasibility study and use the design-build method to support a more efficient process toward procurement and completion. I ask that Senate Bill 121 be given an unfavorable report.
Cox.
Good afternoon. I am Sonia Cox, and in my role as Vice Chair of the College of Southern Maryland's Board of Trustees, I'm speaking in opposition to Senate Bill 121. You have a copy of my full testimony, and I draw your attention to the following highlights. First, this bill requires the college to pay for renovations and operations from the college's operating funds for an aging pool built 50 years ago and now requiring significant repairs. As a regional community college, CSM has the unique capital projects funding formula of the state carrying 75% of the construction costs, while the specific county where the construction occurs pays 25%. Senate Bill 121 circumvents this formula, and it fails to meet the vetting process of the Maryland Association of Community Colleges capital prioritization list for state funding. Adding renovation costs and the associated operational costs will negatively impact the current budget and all future operational budget requests. When making the budgetary decision to close the pool, the trustees agreed this is a venture that CSM can neither operationally afford nor sustain. Factors we considered included significant pool safety concerns, declining customer usage over 10 years, and importantly, the loss of associated tuition revenue from the pool due to the elimination of physical education graduation requirements. The college has been in conversations for over a year with the Charles County leaders to identify a solution to address the community's interest in having an aquatic facility in Charles County. The Charles County Commissioners have advised their intentions to expedite a new competitive level multi-generational facility with an auditorium because the La Plata pool is not a viable option. This is a local issue that is being addressed by the local jurisdiction. Senate Bill 121 is an unfunded local mandate. Therefore, I ask you to give Senate Bill 121 an unfavorable report. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Questions for any the unfavorable testimony? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
That concludes the testimony for that bill. And the next bill up is 169. Senator Kagan, 169. Senator Kagan. Yes.
It's coming up. I would like for you all to recognize our future that's sitting out in this audience. We have our Hallmark cards and our rising stars. I want the 4 students who are here, I want you to stand so that we can recognize you. We are just glad that you're here. Please stand, our pages.
Welcome to budget.
There they are, ladies and gentlemen, our future. These are the people who are going to turn this world right side up.
The Hallmark cards.
Okay, that looks like a panel of Hallmark cards, actually. Okay, Senator Kagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, colleagues. For the record, I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville, and a proud Churchill Bulldog. One of our Hallmark cards, Senator Benson, is a Churchill Bulldog. I got to give a shout out. So I am here to present the Green Bill. You all have heard it before. This committee has passed it unanimously. The body has passed it unanimously twice. And what it does is create a revolving loan fund within the Maryland Energy Administration to help nonprofits to go green and reduce their carbon footprint. Why is this necessary? Why do we need to do this for the nonprofit sector? Because they don't pay taxes, they can't be given a tax credit, as many governments have already established. Last year's bill and this year makes the funding optional. It simply creates the program, and it will be that it can accept money from private agencies, from individuals, from the federal government, from other governments, or from the governor when we've got extra in air quotes here, extra money that can be done to support this effort. Just to be clear, if you think about a food pantry, a homeless shelter, a battered women's shelter, a children's theater, they would love to be part of the climate solutions, but they don't generally have the cash flow. They are putting all their money into their mission. And so they don't have the ability to get the solar panels or other sources of green energy. By showing up with just 10% of the total cost, they get an interest-free loan from the Maryland Energy Administration that can be used to front the dollars, and they quickly repay it with their reduced electric bills. So pretty simple bill. Again, you've all seen it before. I am grateful to the nonprofits that have submitted testimony, to my friends here who are going to briefly tell you why they support it. Maryland Nonprofits has this as one of their top priorities for this session. And I want to acknowledge the Maryland Energy Administration, who suggested 3 very small technical amendments, which we're fine with. And the last thing about amendments is 37 of our colleagues have asked to be added as co-sponsors. And so I do have those sheets to give to council after the hearing. And with that, Madam Chair, I just want to be brief and happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Jamie DeMarco.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jamie DeMarco. I am the Maryland Director at the Chesapeake Climate Action Network. Maryland is behind in meeting our solar goals. In 2022, we met just 55% of our solar generation mandates as a state, meaning that we missed 45%. To catch up, we have got to put solar everywhere that we possibly can. And in both on rooftops and make it easier to put it on the ground. And we know that nonprofit rooftop space is somewhere we are not putting solar panels right now where we could and should be. And as the senator said, nonprofits lack the access to capital to use their own space to deploy solar panels on their own buildings. And this bill would provide that upfront capital at no interest, unlocking roof space across the state that would allow these nonprofits to install solar panels. And putting it on the roof has a lot of benefits. When you put a solar panel on a rooftop, that electricity can go to where it needs to be used without passing through a substation, reduces the need for the grid in order to build substations. And we know that, as the senator said, nonprofits, are there various tax credits for solar that are not available? We think this is a really important bill. We think that we need to be looking at all the ways that we can increase solar generation. Solar is the cheapest form of electricity available to us. And so the more that we are deploying it, the more that we are lowering rates for everyone and allowing the state to meet our solar goals and our greenhouse gas reduction goals. Thank you very much. And we urge a favorable report.
Thank you. Claudia Wilson Randall. Not here. Rosa Hance.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and thank you to the members of Budget and Taxation Committee for the opportunity to testify in support of Senate Bill 169. My name is Rosa Hance, and I'm here today on behalf of the Sierra Club Maryland chapter. The Sierra Club is the nation's most influential and enduring grassroots environmental advocacy organization with 70,000 members and supporters across the state of Maryland. Sierra Club submitted written testimony, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to add some additional comments. The ambitious greenhouse gas reduction goals that the state has passed require a whole of society approach to implement. And the recently published Maryland Climate Pollution Reduction Plan refers to the need to cross-sectorally implement solutions to ensure all of society, all hands on deck, compliance and participation with these important goals. One of the highest hurdles for particularly smaller nonprofit organizations with adoption of solar technologies is the upfront cost. With the implementation of SB 169 and its targeted approach to ensuring access to the zero interest revolving loan fund for qualifying energy systems, and importantly, the technical assistance needed to actually get them properly installed. This will help the state and the entire sector make their clean energy targets, expand the renewable energy market, and particularly for the those with budgets under 1 million, this is a very needed implementation of the aspect of leaving no one behind in our goals as a state to move forward equitably. So we respectfully request a favorable report, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Henry Bogdan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, my name is Henry Bogdan. I'm the Public Policy Director of the Maryland Association of Nonprofits. We're here again in support of this program. The senator said this bill has moved out of this body twice already. We're very hopeful this year that it will go all the way. We're losing time. Nonprofits, it's already been spoken, do not benefit that much from tax credits. It's harder the smaller you are. One of the problems with tax credits is you really have to outlay first. Again, that requires upfront cash. We know the economy up and down, but recovering generally from the pandemic. Unfortunately, smaller nonprofits are experiencing a drain in the sense that charitable contributions by individuals, which are most significant to smaller local, regional, community-based organizations, are not growing. In fact, have declined both as a proportion of overall giving and in real numbers over the last 2 years. Part of that was the temporary pandemic era tax credit for non-itemizers that has expired. We were very hopeful until this past week it will be a compromised tax bill. Right now, the news is not good. But that did give some bump. But basically, nonprofits are facing increasing costs, and in many cases, their revenues are pretty strapped. Another one last feature that was mentioned in this bill is MEA will actually determine that the energy savings will be adequate to amortize the loan costs. This will actually protect some nonprofits from getting into an energy deal that winds up holding them with an expensive cost going down the road. Really urge a favorable report. Thank you.
Okay, comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is Senator Jackson. Senate Bill 0114.
That's new, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Senator Michael Jackson, District 27, on behalf of Senate Bill 114. Senate Bill 114 is a reintroduced piece of legislation that this committee and the Senate as a whole passed last year, but unfortunately the clock ran out in the House. As you may have heard, I represent 3 counties, Prince George's, Charles, as well as Coward counties. And a few years ago, this body helped me get past the first public-private partnership for school construction for Prince George's County. And I can tell you that that has been one of the proudest moments that we have with regard to school construction. We are butting up against our 10th school being built.
Wow.
So you know that. Secondly, a year or so ago, a little over maybe 2 years ago now, Charles County, this body helped us get the public-private partnership passed there as well, and Baltimore City as well. So today we're here to talk about the third county, Calvert County. To start, the Calvert County Commissioners are on board, the superintendent is on board, and the school board is on board. This bill creates a work group to study the fiscal and operational feasibility of using public-private partnerships as a means of funding the construction, renovations, and maintenance of schools in Calvert County. The work group would consist of 10 members. 2 members from the Senate appointed by the President of the Senate based on the recommendations of the chair of the Calvert County delegation. Senate delegation, 2 delegates appointed by the Speaker of the House based upon the recommendation from the chair of the Calvert County House delegation. 2 members of the Board of Calvert County Commissioners appointed by the board, 2 members of the Calvert County Board of Education appointed by the chair of the Board of Education, the chair of the Interagency Commission on School Construction, the executive director of the Maryland Stadium Authority or his or her designee. The task of the work group would be to make recommendations related to the use of public-private partnerships for new school construction and the maintenance of existing school facilities. After studying the fiscal and operational viability of these partnerships, the implementation of these partnerships, and the potential economic benefit of these partnerships, and I can attest that they are working greatly for us on the Prince George's County side. This is a simple piece of legislation to explore the opportunity to put one more tool in the toolbox for that vital need that we all have to ensure that the atmosphere that we send our future leaders to is conducive to learning. So with that, Madam Chair and members of the committee, we ask for a favorable report, and I will stand for questions if necessary.
Any questions for the sponsor? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have one virtual, Chris Parts from the AIA Maryland.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. I'm Chris Parts, an architect with AIA Maryland, representing nearly 2,000 architects across the state of Maryland, here to express concerns about Senate Bill 114, a proposed work group for assessing viability of using P3 school financing, construction, maintaining, operating in Calvert County. First, using history as a lesson, virtually every jurisdiction that has pursued P3 models for K-12 education facilities has backed out and purchased properties back, including Great Britain, Australia, and Canada, each citing issues of dissatisfaction with facility design input, operational challenges, and long-term operations and maintenance issues. While I'd like to think we're smarter, I have grave doubts that we should expect different results. Secondly, the scale of construction to warrant a P3 model in Calvert County does not really appear to exist. This is a significant undertaking, and Charles County, a jurisdiction that I believe is nearly two times the size of Calvert County, recently concluded in a similar study that indicated the P3 model would not make sense at this time. There are 21 public schools, I believe, in Calvert County, and the P3 model I think that's currently being used for PG County was building 6 at a time, and I don't quite see that scale of need or expediency required in Calvert County. And then third, the P3 project process requires a significant financial risk to pursue, and as a result, it would be expected to send a lot of capital dollars for planning and construction out of state. In my letter, I've outlined that both the financing entity and the design firm planning the Prince George County P3 projects are both Canada-based companies, and the construction company has a home base in Rhode Island. Those projects had a $1.2 billion value. While some of the money comes home, the bulk of those capital dollars are not providing benefits to Maryland, the Maryland economy. So in conclusion, I'd ask that we focus on the P3 process. History shown that occupant satisfaction and the long-term and dissatisfaction of the managing authority have been a result of the P3 processes. We urge you to consider what's best for our Maryland communities and Maryland economy and keep a state and local focus on our school projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I don't see any. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Senator McCray. Senate Bill 101. You want to bring your panel up?
Always.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Corey McCray, and I'm here to present before you all Senate Bill 101. Senate Bill 101 is one of the things that I'm very, very proud of that we're doing in this great state of Maryland. I think that it's one of the things that we agree with as a committee because we funded it in our budget as a priority in past years. It's also something that I've seen where our previous governor, our current governor, is supportive of the Schaefer Center for Public Service. I'm glad to be joined by Dean Hartley, Madam Dr. Director Cotton, and a number of folks that'll be able to speak to why this program is so important. And Madam Chair, while I know that we're supportive of it, it's important to recognize that while it's been in the budget, it hasn't always been something that we know from a consistent ongoing space that it will be there. And it's important to also recognize that while this is a historic program, so this is a historic program that has existed for some years now, there have been programs that have come along, and from a parity standpoint, we want to make sure that they're keeping along along the same side of funding from that standpoint. They've had a number of folks that have graduated or matriculated through this program, but I also believe that it's the farm team as we talk about the vacancies and challenges, not just in the state government, but local government also. These are the folks that are raising up, that are educating, that are moving along, these folks that are participating in our local government. I'll stop doing the talking, Madam Chair, because I see you looking, and I'll make sure that the folks that are the subject matter experts that can speak to it.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we have Ann Cotton.
We have Dean Hartley go first.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Senator McCray and your co-sponsors, Madam Chairwoman and distinguished senators on this committee. I'm Roger Hartley. I serve as Dean of the College of Public Affairs at the University of Baltimore. I wanted to start by saying our state and nation face a crisis in capacity in public service, particularly in personnel needed to fulfill our commitments to citizens in virtually every field of public service in every part of our state. With retirements and a very tight employment market, we face significant vacancies in extremely important jobs at every level of government. Nationally, there are over 1 million unfilled vacancies in government. Less than 7% of the federal workforce right now is below the age of 30. That is the lowest percentage in our nation's history. In Maryland, the setting is very similar, with an aging public service and retiring public service leadership, and fewer to fill the ranks behind them. In some agencies, there are double-digit percentage vacancies in our state. We've learned from local government leaders that we partner with that the picture is very, very similar in state and local localities all across our state as well. On top of this challenge, Maryland has made a commitment to add diversity to the ranks of public service as well. I come here today to both thank you for your past support and to ask for your support for SB 101 to make our work permanent and stronger. With your past support, our William Donald Schaefer Center for Public Policy has earned national recognition for its work to build a new pipeline of talent to public service, and that also prepares existing state and local leaders for leadership positions that are being quickly vacated. With your support, we've been able to bring a diverse and talented pool of leaders into state and local government that we're really proud of, and they're fanning out across the state to serve our state. I'm concerned also, and I think you're going to hear about some marvelous work where we have been able to make these opportunities affordable to our students as well. And I always say an elite opportunity for service should not be reserved only to those from elite backgrounds. And I want to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Ann Cotton, who leads our Schaefer Center.
Thank you. I'm Ann Cotton, Executive Director of the Schaefer Center for Public Policy at the University of Baltimore. I'm testifying in support of Senate Bill 101. As we know, Maryland's public agencies are struggling to fill important vacancies, and public managers struggle to find job-relevant training. In fiscal years 23 and 24, you provided critical funding that enabled us to address these public sector challenges. And in 18 short months, we've achieved impressive results that are documented in my written testimony. For example, our Maryland Certified Public Manager Program, the only such program in the state of Maryland, enrolled 162 public managers from 20 jurisdictions in Maryland and provided over 100 full scholarships. These scholarships are critical, especially for smaller jurisdictions. It provides access to training that's desperately needed for them to improve the management of their government. The program teaches skills that have immediate impact, as evidenced by some of the projects completed by our recent graduates. One was a digital record archive that reduced the cost of maintaining records while increasing access to records. Another was a smart water meter program that switched to smart meters and reduced the meter reading cost while increasing revenue. And then we had a waterfront beautification project. In addition, our Next Gen Leaders for Public Service internship program, and during its first year, placed 125 University of Baltimore students in 44 agencies across the state. These interns provide thousands of hours of public service while they gain valuable work experience and learned about government. This program was recognized by the Volcker Alliance Next Gen Service Corps as being one of the strongest public sector management internship programs in the country. Among their network of universities, our peers, Syracuse University, James Madison University, Indiana State, and the University of Pennsylvania. I urge you to provide permanent funding because permanency is what's needed for these impactful programs to continue for the benefit of Marylanders.
Thank you very much. David Weiskopf.
Thank you very much and good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and members of this committee. My name is David Weiskopf, and I am here today to speak in favor of this bill. I am a proud alumni from the University of Baltimore's Law School and a current student at the Schaefer Center for Public Policy at the Maryland Certified Public Manager Program. I was fortunate enough to obtain a scholarship to the program and would like to point out that this bill would help ensure that public servants continue to receive scholarships. I have been in public service most of my life as an attorney and now as the county administrator for St. Mary's County. One of the difficulties that new government managers and leaders face is knowing how to lead and supervise others. The usual pattern is that you are good at your job and you get promoted, and then you have to figure out the leadership part. You know, this is where the Maryland program, CPM program fits in. It's very comprehensive. It's a 10-month program. It's you learn leadership styles, team building, communication, strategic management, database decision-making, HR, budgeting, procurement, emergency management, legislative process, administrative law, and public sector ethics, etc. It's very comprehensive. And you also do a capstone project, which relates back to your place of employment, which is also helpful. My classmates are from all over the state of Maryland at the state level and the local level. We are all learning how to lead and how to do our jobs better. And this program is also a help, as others have said, in the field of recruitment, retention, and engagement. Right? It's great for retention. The state employees and the local government employees, we feel, you know, the government cares about us and is investing some time to see our personal and professional growth and help us succeed. So I think that will keep, you know, retain government employees as well. So I urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Dylan Galloway.
Yes. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Delane Galloway, and I'm the town administrator for the town of Cheverly. I'm here to express my strong support for Senate Bill 101, focusing on the commendable University of Baltimore Certified Public Managers Program and the Next Generation Program. As a proud graduate of the program, I have personally experienced its numerous benefits and the positive impact it has on local government professionals across the state. The Certified Public Managers Program at the University of Baltimore has been instrumental in fostering relationships among government officials and professionals from various regions in Maryland. It serves as a catalyst for collaboration, creating a network that transcends geographical boundaries and promotes shared knowledge and experience. Moreover, the program has been successful in navigating the challenges posed by a post-COVID environment. The innovative ideas and strategies imparted during the Certified Public Managers Program have equipped professionals with the necessary tools to address the evolving landscape of local government effectively. Also, the Next Generation Leadership Program makes it possible for students to get hands-on experience as an intern. As the town administrator for the town of Cheverly, I'm happy to announce that I have one of the interns as well here with me today, and that's Miss Delia, and she's behind me. So I've been able to see the program from a twofold, as a certified public manager, but also as someone that comes in and interns for me. So funding for the Certified Public Manager Program is crucial for several reasons. Number one, program sustainability. Just to piggyback off of my colleague, it's important that funding scholarship opportunities are available, enhanced resources, widening accessibility, and innovation and adaptability. I urge that you all support Senate Bill 101. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Yes.
On these internships, how long are the internships and are they paid?
Yes, it's one of the hallmarks of the program that they do provide paid internships. As we know, unpaid internships are a barrier to employment, especially for students from low-income, self-supporting first-generation families. So we do pay them. The internships are 15 weeks and we pay $15 an hour, and they're 10 to 20 hours a week.
And this is paid, they're paid by whom?
So from the funding we received, we use that money to pay the interns.
So the employers are not paying?
No, they're not. We're paying. You're paying. So yes.
No. I mean, I raise the question in a serious way because, as everyone here knows, I'm a zealot on apprenticeships. And one of the strengths of apprenticeships is the employer has skin in the game. And in registered apprenticeships, the employer pay the wages. The related instruction may be paid by somebody else. But that's why I wanted to find out on this particular program. I think there's some real advantages in having the employers pay because they got skin in the game. Happy to have responses to that.
Senator, thank you so much for that question. It's really important. We do have some employers that are able to pay, and they do indeed pay our students $15 an hour at that wage that we require. But there are other employers throughout our state that are not able to. And that's one of the reasons that there is, in my opinion, a crisis in the ability to attract so many students into so many opportunities that we need them in. I agree with you completely. We need to have paid opportunities and we need to advance more and more paid opportunities. And we honestly wouldn't have been able to do this without you.
Follow up. I wanted to clarify that these are internships with public organizations, so it's government.
I know.
So government agencies.
I know, but I mean, we've done a lot of looking at the vacancies we have in state government. And when you have vacancies, I'm sure it varies by jurisdiction, but conceptually, you budget for the slots you need, and then you can't hire people. And that means you have money where you could pay folks who are coming into the field. So I'd ask you to think about that. And I think we can think of that's more strategically and not think of it as just an add-on to the schooling, but think of it as an actual career path. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. My colleagues will throw me off the stage, but I wanted to get your perspective on it. But I'm happy to hear what you're saying.
Yep. Senator, I just wanted to lean in as a person that actually went through an apprenticeship program. I wanted to say, like, the traditional way of like apprenticeship is the employer piece of it, but there are multiple ways. I'll talk about like one in the nursing field with our hospitals through BAC, where they are getting subsidized in order to work through. So it's not like the employer is engaged. We do these types of things through EARN. So this is another way that we've done and help with a subsidy where the employer isn't always the traditional funder or even a partner from a funder. They're also partnering from an experience standpoint. So the experience is also to be lifted up because it's like a real life experience. It's a work experience, but it's also supplementing from a governmental standpoint where we just have tons of vacancies and people don't want to historically go into government work from a monetary standpoint. But this is like building that farm team. I just wanted to lean in and say that there are dual roles, one where employers do it traditionally, historically, but there are also where we're trying to push apprenticeships, and sometimes we have to be creative.
Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Rosepep hit the buzzer before I did, or hit the button before I did on the first part of it. But secondly, I'd just like to say I am a staunch supporter of this program, Ms. Cotton. When I retired from One Life and went to work for Governor O'Malley, we met at this program and we've been watching from a distance. So it's a terrific program. I understand exactly why you're here today. I support your efforts, and I love the fact that you have interns present. There are a number of local governments that could use some interns as well. So thank you all for being here. Great job, Dr. Cotton.
Okay, this is the end of Senate Bill 35. One more?
101.
Oh, I have one more. I have a virtual. Christina Berthelot.
This was 101,
Wait a
Madam
minute.
Chair.
Yeah.
I don't have any other one.
Okay.
That's it. Okay,
Appreciate you, my friend.
switch. Thank you.
You really. Thank you all.
I'll figure it out.
Thank you.
All right, Director, Doctor. It's good to see you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great to see you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you. Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir. What do we got now?
I think it's Senate Bill 35.
35. That sounds good to me. I think you got a lot of witnesses on this one.
I know, that's why I was trying to be expedient.
Yes, good plan. Good plan.
Mr. Chair, as they're coming up, I'll start.
Okay.
For the record, colleagues, I'm Corey McCray. I'm here before you in reference to Senate Bill 35, working in collaboration with an organization that does phenomenal work across the state of Maryland, Hunger Solutions. From that standpoint, I won't not belabor you all, but I'm pretty sure you know who's impacted when we think about our SNAP benefits. These are our neighbors, these are our friends, these are our young scholars, these are our seniors. And colleagues, I was held hostage late last night by one of my seniors who called and talked about the importance of this bill and some of the challenges that we have when you get to a certain age by making sure that the food insecurity that exists. And I just wanted to say, like, she propelled and said, like, these are real issues for our seniors from that standpoint. We, in the past, when this was discussed, Mr. Chair, I'm sure you know, that we actually elevated it to a certain percentage to make sure that our seniors are taken care of. And just wanted to lean in and say that we should make sure that everybody's taken care of. So when we went through the pandemic, I think that there was that pandemic SNAP, there was that level of benefit, and there was that cushion. Unfortunately, the pandemic has moved past us, but food insecurity has not. This bill simply moves up to make sure that everybody's getting a suffice amount, that $90+ in reference to our SNAP benefits. I know that I've been in talks with the administration, and something like this doesn't happen without the administration from that piece of it, but wanted to make sure that we push this conversation, elevate it and amplify so that those folks that need it the most are helped. I'll let the panel do the rest of the talking, but I would ask for your full support for Senate Bill 35. And thank you again, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Right. Good afternoon, Chair Gazzoni, Vice Chair Rosa Pep, and members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. My name is JD Douglas Robinson, and I'm the Program Coordinator for SNAP at Maryland Hunger Solutions. For over 10 years, we have assisted anyone in Maryland who is seeking food assistance through applying for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps, currently known as SNAP. It's through this work that we hear firsthand from families about how difficult the multiple changes to the program have been over the past year, particularly since March of 2023, the decrease in benefit amounts due to the loss of the emergency allotments waiver. Emergency allotments provided a SNAP household of one with $281 a month in benefits. A household of four received $973 a month. And without this waiver, benefits across the board decreased, with some falling to as little as $23 a month, which is the federal minimum for SNAP. And when this change occurred, our toll-free hotline became inundated with calls, families wondering where their closest pantry was despite never ever accessing a food bank, older adults worrying about picking between medicine and food, and everyone wondering why the rug got pulled out from under them. Despite losing the boosted benefits, however, SNAP participation in Maryland is on the rise. 700,000 people are currently utilizing SNAP as of the most recent data, which is still far and beyond pre-pandemic levels. The Farm Bill, which is an omnibus legislation package normally passed by Congress, would be the mechanism we would usually use to tackle this need. However, consensus was not reached on this last year. So in light of this, other states have already taken action. And this action includes DC, recently passing Give SNAP a Raise, which is going to fund and increase everyone's SNAP benefits in the district by 10%. And New Jersey, quite incredibly, increasing their benefits to $50 a month for the minimum in 2021, and then again to $95 a month in 2023. Maryland can and should follow their lead to provide a boosted benefits to our most vulnerable residents. Thank you for your consideration. We urge a favorable report on Senate Bill 35.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee. My name is Omar Marroquin, and I'm from the Farmers Market Program Manager at Crossroads Community Food Network. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Senate Bill 35. As you know, the state supplement would raise the minimum to $95 per month. SNAP generates business for food retailers of all types and sizes, and for the past 17 years, it's used at farmers markets like Crossroads Farmers Market. We support this bill because it will help reduce food insecurity among SNAP users in our community and support the 22+ local farmers and vendors in our network. The 2023 season brought decreases in overall market sales and benefit usage, and with it, fresh checks distribution and redemption. This was expected as pandemic-era emergency SNAP allotments were discontinued and SNAP using shoppers had fewer dollars to spend at CFM. We saw a decrease in SNAP distribution during the 2023 season, dropping almost $3,000 from 2022 or 18%. When we include pandemic EBT in those numbers, we see an even larger decrease in purchasing power for our most vulnerable families, from over $22,000 in 2022 to $17,000 in 2023, or a whopping 24% decrease. At Crossroads, we see firsthand how programs that incentivize consumption of locally grown, fresh produce offers both health benefits to low-income communities and economic benefits to local farmers. Thank you for your consideration of this important bill and for your efforts to ensure every Maryland resident is food secure. Crossroads Farmers Market urges a favorable report on Senate Bill 35. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, señor presidente, vicepresidente y miembros del Senado. Mi nombre es Flor Llanes y soy manager del alcance comunitario para Crossroads Farmers Market.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and the members of the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee. My name is Flor Llanes, Community Outreach Manager for Crossroads Community Food Network.
Mi comunidad, la comunidad hispana, está en gran medida sin trabajo y tiene una gran necesidad de poner alimentos saludables en su mesa para sus niños. Estoy llenando más de 15 aplicaciones de estampillas cada semana para mi comunidad.
Right now in my community, especially the Hispanic community, we're in dire need of more work and in even greater need of providing food for our tables at home. Currently, I am helping fill out over 15 SNAP applications a week for families.
Una madre soltera preocupada porque tiene 4 hijos y sus beneficios del WIC terminarán cuando su hijo cumplió 5 años. Me preguntó cómo podía tener comida porque solo trabaja medio tiempo.
A mother of 4 who I've helped apply for benefits is concerned about her WIC benefits running out now that her son has turned 5 years old and how she can find ways to feed her children.
Ayudé a aplicar los beneficios y los recibió. Está muy contenta de esta ayuda y pide por favor que continúen esa ayuda, así ella no está preocupada por la comida de sus hijos y puede darles una vivienda digna.
I helped her apply for SNAP benefits and she was able to get approved and has extreme thank you for being able to provide for her children and ask us to be able to be present for her to purchase great locally grown produce for her family.
Gracias por la oportunidad de testificar este día.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
I just want to congratulate you for coming here and testifying. It's hard enough for most people to come over here and sit down and testify, but you did a fabulous job and just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Gazzoni and members of the committee. My name is Callie Shumitz with the Maryland Center on Economic Policy. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan research organization. And we believe that all Marylanders should be able to achieve their full potential in a healthy economy that offers a widely shared and rising standard of living. And making sure that all Marylanders can afford enough to eat is a critical part of that vision. As you've heard so far, and as other speakers will share, while the federal assistance has diminished, the need for food assistance has not. The number of Marylanders reporting that they are not able to afford enough food is increasing. As of October, in the Census Pulse survey, 445,000 Marylanders reported that they could not afford enough to eat. We've seen food prices go up. Things have stabilized with inflation, but over the last few years, food prices have gone up significantly, and the benefits have not increased correspondingly. And increasing food security is not only good for people, but as many of you have heard me say before, is also good for our economy. This is money that we know will immediately go back out into our economy each month as people spend it on food at local stores and at farmers markets. And research shows that SNAP is also linked to improved health and improved economic outcomes, both for adults and for children who receive it. Things like having fewer sick days and fewer medical visits. So for these reasons, we would ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 35. Thank you.
And if there are any other folks who are, right, and any others who are part of this, you could make some space for them and so we could keep it rolling.
Chair Gazzoni, Vice Chair Rosapep, who was just here a second ago, and members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. My name is Ann Wallerstedt. I'm the Senior Director of Government Relations with the Maryland Food Bank. You've definitely heard a lot from our panel here about the importance of attacking food insecurity, but we know that food insecurity is often a symptom of a larger issue, and often if it's a symptom of financial instability. The Maryland Food Bank has found that 72% of current Maryland SNAP recipients are also facing financial difficulties. And when you couple financial difficulties with hunger, you really need every tool in your tool chest to be able to attack it. SNAP is a proven way to attack this issue. It provides help with financial struggles. It provides help with hunger at its basic core, right? But from a larger systemic perspective, it helps provide access to healthy foods that Marylanders can have options to feed their family. As an illustrative example that I know my panel has also touched on, when the SNAP emergency allotments ended last March, 95% of our partners all across the state, all 350 of them almost, experienced an immediate increase in demand. And we know that internet searches for things like free food were significantly more that summer after than they were the summer before emergency allotments ended. And since September, the month-over-month internet search increases for things like charitable food, free food, food near me has increased 18% month over month. SNAP helps people to eat and afford their food and afford to feed their families. And any way that the state can help supplement that is benefiting the entire food system. So on behalf of the Maryland Food Bank, I ask for a favorable report. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Judith Kinney, and I'm a member of the Maryland Food Bank Speakers Bureau and a volunteer in Allegheny County, which is where I reside. And I'm here to tell you a little bit of my story as well as family members as well. I grew up in poverty and relied on SNAP benefits for over half of my life. Well into my early 20s, I was a single mother, and because of SNAP benefits and the assistance that I received, I was able to focus on going to college during the day, working in the evenings, and use my finances to put into savings to become a success story and not a statistic. The SNAP benefits greatly helped me and my family to now I sit here before you today as a government employee, your current Mrs. Maryland America, and a doctoral student. On the flip side of that, I have a daughter that is a 23-year-old single mother of my 2 grandchildren. She too is trying to go to college during the day, work in the evenings, and she does receive the maximum amount of SNAP benefits for her and her 2 sons. However, even with the maximum amount, it is still not enough to supplement the food that she and my grandsons need every month, which requires her to take some of her income and use that to supplement the food costs that she has because of food's exuberant costs now. With that being said, over 13% of Marylanders are within our aging population. The $40 supplement that they currently receive is just not enough to help. I've seen that. I also advocate for type 2 diabetes, and our aging population struggles with that because they don't have the food resources that they need to eat properly to help manage their diabetes. So Maryland alone pays billions of dollars a year for healthcare coverage, but in return, the folks that they're paying for this healthcare does not have the food opportunities that they would need to have proper diets to be able to maintain a healthy diet. So I urge you to support this and help raise the SNAP benefits.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, that's everybody in person. And
Okay,
3
great.
virtual.
Great. Any questions for those here in person? Yes. No stalling.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the senator for this bill and for the testimony. at times I volunteer a can. And I see what they do and I see the families that come there. And it's an amazing outreach what they do. And I know who they depend upon. They depend upon that area because in my area, it's very high poverty. In Dundalk, if you go in that some of those areas, we have found more and more places and churches that really do a great outreach. And if it wasn't for them, I don't know whether people would get their food. And again, if it wasn't for SNAP, as the testimony stated, I think people would be in dire straits. So I appreciate this bill, Mr. Senator. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We have, I think we had 4 signed up online, but 3 are in the box right now. So who do we have here? Christina
Berthelot.
Burkett. Great, thank you.
Thanks. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Christina Berthelot. I'm the External Relations and Development Coordinator for Maryland Market Money, a statewide food access program of the Southern Maryland Agricultural Development Commission and the Maryland Department of Agriculture. Maryland Market Money feeds Marylanders and supports farmers by providing a dollar-for-dollar match for purchases using federal nutrition benefits, including SNAP, at participating farmers markets, farm stands, and CSA. SMATIC strongly supports Senate Bill 35. The end of SNAP emergency allotments in March 2023 has profoundly impacted our community. We have observed a shift in behavior with the reduction of financial assistance as folks shy away from local farmers markets where fresh food and healthy food options abound to reduce cost grocers in hopes to stretch their food budgets, raising concerns about the well-being of our community members. Please allow me to share the reality of the hunger cliff through an experience related to a mass marketing mailing in collaboration with the Maryland Department of Human Services, the agency overseeing SNAP in our state. Annually, our program sends an informational brochure with SNAP redetermination and Maryland benefits review letters. This year marked a stark difference in the volume and the tone of inquiries we received. Our office is inundated with incessant calls day and night, overflowing our voicemail and reaching every possible extension in our organization. Distressed recipients grappling with the sudden decrease in SNAP benefits left countless heartbreaking messages. They expressed their uncertainty about affording food for their families and desperately sought assistance. We tried our best to help by sharing information about our program and providing details on other food resources, but no one should endure such profound food insecurity. In the absence of sufficient federal funding to address food security, I implore Maryland to step in and fill the gap for our neighbors. Together, we can ensure the well-being of Marylanders and uphold the values of compassion and solidarity that define our great. Thanks for your attention and consideration in favor of Senate Bill 35.
Thank you very much. Questions? Mary Simmons.
Chairman, it's Simons, but that's okay.
Simons.
Everybody messes it up. Good afternoon.
I mess them
I'd
all
like-
up.
I only have 2 minutes. Don't start yet. I thank you, Chairman, and the committee for my 2 minutes to support this bill. But first, I want to ask you, who on this panel would eat for $40 in a box of cans from the food bank? Or even the $95 that we're asking for this bill? No takers, because you wouldn't. I am a senior. My name is Mary Simons. I live in Rockville. I'm on a senior fixed income. I get that $40. And by the way, that 12% that the federal government gave last October, we didn't get it. We are omitted from it. I got the letter if you want it. You said to control our future and our health and our well-being. I'd like to point out that if you benefit of passing this humanitarian decision, by passing this bill, it would reduce Medicare, Medicaid, and prescription and mental health for your state of Maryland. Every year we hear the same thing. How do we fix hunger nationally and statewide? And yet here we are again. You, as the state of Maryland, can start by making this bill pass as is. Don't make us feel like we're dogs waiting under your table for pieces of crumbs. And God forbid, don't shortcut us by bartering us for a lower amount. We're human. You can cut the fat pork from anywhere else in this bill, but not here. On behalf of the seniors and myself who voted, each and every one of you in your seat today, I just ask you to have compassionate and do the right thing. Pass the bill as it stands. Thank you, Chairman. And if you got any questions, I still have 16 seconds.
Thank you. We appreciate your testimony and taking your time. Any questions? Okay, I think we have one more person in the waiting room. Michelle?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Michelle Madeo. I am an attorney with the Homeless Persons Representation Project. We provide free legal representation to people experiencing homelessness and housing insecurity. And we've represented a lot of people over the years who receive SNAP benefits in administrative appeals. We've worked with a lot of individuals and families that have qualified for only the minimum SNAP benefit. So we come in strong support today of SB 35 because families and individuals really need all the food assistance that Maryland can provide. Just to give an example, we worked with one family. She was a single mom, herself and her daughter. They only received $23, which is the minimum right now in Maryland. And so even though she was working for a school cafeteria, her income after paying rent, transportation, utilities, and all the other basic costs, there just wasn't enough income left to cover the cost of food. So that's where SNAP comes in to supplement the income. But because of her income, her benefit was only $23 a month. And that just didn't cover her basic needs. She was also immunocompromised and was not able to purchase the foods needed to support the diet that her doctors recommended. Just earlier today, I was on the phone with a client explaining this bill and asking how it might impact him. He receives Social Security disability insurance. And because of that income, although he has a number of disabilities and medical costs associated with his appointments and prescriptions, he only qualifies for $35 in SNAP. And I think his words were really powerful. He told me that the impact that SB 35 would have on him would be the difference between only being able to purchase a few items when he goes to the grocery store and being able to fill up his cart. So we thank you for your time today and urge a favorable report on SB 35.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you all very much. That concludes the hearing on that bill. And we'll move on to Senate Bill 181.
Yeah, it's not there.
Mr. Chair, I'll get started while they're sitting down.
That's terrific.
Mr. Chair, for the record, colleagues, Corey McCray here before you in reference to Senate Bill 181. Mr. Chair, I've been able to work with Vehicles for Change in reference to the phenomenal work that they're doing for more than a decade. From that standpoint, they're working with one of our populations that's very, very important, those that are re-entering into our community. And one of the things that they're doing, or several things that they're doing when they're working with the re-entry population, is they're giving them the opportunity to be able to have the training. They're giving them the opportunity to be able to acquire the skills. They're also providing that level of a safe community to be able to grow and be able to flourish back within the community. So I'm always thankful for their leadership from that standpoint. One of the things that we know is that when people have the opportunity to get that training, the skills, the opportunity to be able to grow, that we know that recidivism also drops. So I just wanted to salute them and lift them up, Mr. Chair, in reference to the work that they're doing. And this bill, Senate Bill 181, will help to also build on that success that has already taken place.
Whoever would like to go first.
I will. Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Martin Schwartz. I'm the president and founder of Vehicles for Change. In Maryland, about 7,000 individuals will be released from prison every year, and about 3,500 of those will return to prison within the next 3 years, costing the state an average of $175 million a year, or $1.75 billion over a 10-year period. What if we could reduce that number returned by 95% and save the state $1.6 billion while reducing the overall crime rate because most of the 3,500 that return for committing another crime. Over the past 7 years, Vehicles for Change has trained and placed in high-paying jobs as auto mechanics more than 220 individuals with a criminal background, most of whom were recently released from incarceration. Our program boasts an 85% completion, a 95% placement rate, and of the 220 individuals, only 3 are currently incarcerated. Only 3, less than 1.5%. Our success is the result of a comprehensive program that includes a 3-month, 40-hour paid training program with ASE certifications, in addition to a full complement of wraparound services, including housing, transportation, mental health, financial literacy, and others. To be successful, individuals returning from incarceration need this type of full-service program. Programs like Vehicles for Change are not cheap, costing an average of $18,000 a person. But the return on that investment in just 5 years is more than 18 to 1. Not a bad investment. This bill would go a long way in our being able to sustain the program and expand the number trained and employed. For this reason, we ask a favorable report on Senate Bill 181. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. I'm Devine Liggins-Sneed, the Vice President of Development at Vehicles for Change, and I'm also a former Car Award recipient. It is my honor to testify today regarding this vital workforce development initiative to address the pressing issue facing our community and our state, the successful reintegration of returning citizens into society. Our program is not about repairing vehicles. It's about repairing lives. When individuals re-enter society after incarceration, they often face numerous barriers to employment, making it difficult to break the cycle of recidivism. This program provides a path to self-sufficiency and reduces the likelihood of returning to the criminal justice system, as our less than 2% recidivism rate supports. By equipping returning citizens with the skills and knowledge needed for gainful employment, we empower them to lead productive lives and become contributing members to society. The program provides equitable job opportunities for formerly incarcerated individuals, where we provide access. Repair and training program promotes Maryland's economic growth and development. By preparing individuals for careers in the automotive industry, we enhance our local workforce and provide upward mobility. Our graduates become skilled technicians, contributing to the growth of the automotive sector while supporting their families and contributing to the state's economy. Through our program, they have a chance to rebuild their lives and strengthen our communities, fostering social cohesion, reducing crime, and creating a safer and more prosperous Maryland for all of us. I urge you to please consider the profound social and economic benefits of funding these programs and invest in the potential of our returning citizens. Thank you to this committee for your favorable vote, in which I hope for Senate Bill 181. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, Chairman, Vice Chairman. My name is Terrence Grandy. I am the subject matter expert at Vehicles for Change for our virtual reality training program. I was born and raised in West Baltimore, and I'm at the inside of a jail cell my first year of high school. Since that day, I continue to get arrested year after year. March 1st, 2017, I was arrested for possession with intent to distribute cocaine, and this is where I began to evolve. While incarcerated at MCTC, I enrolled and started in the auto body repair program and became my instructor's top student. At this point, he introduced me to the VFC internship. August 2021, I enrolled and started the VFC internship while on work release at Baltimore City Correctional Center. While in the internship, I was offered job placement, driving school, one-on-one counseling and mentoring sessions, job interview prep, as well as resume and cover letter prep. December 2001, I completed VFC's internship with 9 out of 10 entry-level ASEs and awarded a vehicle as part of that completion. VFC hired me as a technician for full circle auto repair, and currently I am VFC's subject matter expert and virtual reality entry-level auto repair training. Our interns are overly excited to learn the hands-on training that will aid in completion of the internship and job placement to start their career. I've not only watched how VFC has impacted me, but countless returning citizens have not gone back to prison because of what we at VFC offer. When criminals return to society, VFC is the company that stands on core values and brings trust into the community and to those who seek change. Thank you.
Chairman Guzzoni, members of the committee, thank you. I'd like to thank Senator McCray for introducing this bill. My name is John Pica, and I'm here on behalf of Vehicles for Change. Vehicles for Change has transformed hundreds of lives, just like they did to Mr. Grandy here. He's a success story, an individual who served much of his life in prison, who now has hope, a paying job with benefits. This bill is pretty straightforward. It allows nonprofits that provide automotive repair training to access a fund, provided they train at least 50 incarcerated or formerly incarcerated individuals per year. These trainees are awarded a certificate from a nationally recognized organization, and they demonstrate at least a 50% employment rate. They've trained close to 250 former inmates with a 95% placement rate in employment with pay, good pay, and benefits. Now think about this statistic. Close to 1/2 of people in prison go back to prison in Maryland. Only 3 of the 240 individuals they trained have gone back to prison. That's about a 2% recidivism rate compared to close to a 50% recidivism rate. Another part of the program that has not been mentioned today, they repair cars. They have awarded, Vehicles for Change has awarded close to 8,000 vehicles to underserved families in Maryland. I've attended their gala each year. I would hope that the people in this room could attend the gala as my guest next year, well, their 20th or 25th anniversary. I urge a favorable report, and I'm just very impressed with this organization and the way they've transformed lives for people in Maryland. If you fund this program, they'll be able to train at least 20 or 25 more individuals per year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say I have witnessed firsthand exactly the work that the people have done there. And I also seen firsthand them giving the cars to the people that were in need of a vehicle. It's very touching. Just everything that happens there, to me, I was just amazed. I didn't know what I was walking into until I walked and I got done through the whole process of what they do. And it's a life changer in many ways, not just those that were incarcerated, but what they now are doing in the world of a change for their life and other people's lives, but then giving the vehicles away for those are in need for a vehicle. And when I see this, it just amazes me. And if you've never gone there, you need to go here. So I want to thank you for this bill, and thank you, Mark, for what you do. It's a great thing. And thank you, young man. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator. Rose Pep.
Thank you. I mean, I'm a big fan of the program as well, but the thing I don't understand is what goes on behind the wall and what goes on outside the wall. Do you operate behind the wall as well as outside, or how does that work exactly?
We do not currently. We are now working behind the wall using virtual reality. We actually just developed a virtual reality auto mechanic training and implemented in the women's facility in Jessup. It was the first virtual reality training ever used in a prison facility in the United States. But the Department of Labor also runs 5 automotive training programs within the facilities. The problem was when we developed our program, Senator, was that those individuals were getting out and they had no wraparound support. They realized the training was okay. There was nobody helping them get a job. And most of the employers at that time wouldn't touch somebody with a criminal background. Most of our employers, including Mile One, which is the largest dealership conglomerate in Maryland, now hires people with a criminal background because we've convinced them And now to try our program, and now they hire about 20% of our graduates. So we work with a lot of employers in the state of Maryland, including Bob Davidson and Bob Bell and Sheehy and Pohanka. And they're hiring people with a criminal background because of the work that we're doing.
And I get that, and I applaud you for it. I'm trying to get my head around, though, why much more of this can't be before people get out instead of after people get out. Now, obviously, you can't work on the job in a dealership that's outside the wall until you're outside the wall. But just like you're talking about your virtual reality training, it seems like a lot of that could go on before they get out.
It could. It's very expensive to launch a program like this. I mean, you're talking about $1 million if they have a facility high enough that they can put cars in, and then also to bring in all the equipment and all those type of things, and then find instructors, which are not easy to do.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Other questions? Oh, Senator Hellman. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna pile on. I'm a fan also. I've seen the car giveaway. I've also I'm very aware of the good work that you do hiring people in the community. I know connection with somebody you guys hired down in Salisbury who was formerly incarcerated, and there's not enough good things to say about. I wish we could take you and expand you lots of different places. So thank you for everything you
We're
do.
working on it. Thank you, Senator.
Thanks.
Very good. All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next bill,
Yes, sir.
Senate Bill 188. Senator Hayes, you here for finance also? You're welcome to sit at the table.
No, your whole senator. Your whole senator. Don't got sent the crowd.
All right.
You got a panel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, bring them on up.
They coming. You want me to get started,
You bet.
Mr. Chair? This will be the last time you see me today. But
what about the rest of the session?
All right, let me start it over. I'm Corey McCray. And I'm here before in reference to Senate Bill 188, Arbitration Reform for State Employees Act of 2024. This is something that is a reintroduction, so I won't hold you all too long, but I think that it's important to just say what binding arbitration is. Binding arbitration is when you meet that impasse, you have that ability to have that neutral party to kind of step in, hear the different cases and make some form of a rational decision from that standpoint. When I think about binding arbitration, this is something, being an electrician's union, that I was already used to. We hadn't used binding arbitration, I think, twice in the 20 years that I'd been within my respective local union. But also, this is something that's familiar with other state agencies. So other folks already have this within state government. This is something that's familiar within local government. This is something that we're used to across our nation, Mr. Chair. I'll let the subject matter experts dig in, but just hope that this year we can get this across the finish line, because it's not like this is the last step. This is one of a number of steps that will have to take place in order for us to do this.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is David Marr. I'm an attorney at Conn Smith & Collins. We serve as labor counsel to Ask Me Counsel 3, and we represent state government employees, teachers, employees of universities, firefighters across this state. Speaking in support of this bill, just want to talk a little bit about what this bill does and why it requires a constitutional amendment. The bill changes slightly the calendar for collective bargaining negotiations, providing them to start in July 1 of every year. There are certain sponsor amendments that are being worked on, I believe, and negotiations that will change this a little bit and then conclude negotiations by September 15th. This allows both sides to faithfully engage in the negotiations process and do their best to come to an agreement. It also allows for there to be a mediator who the parties can mutually agree to appoint, who will help reach that decision. And then if the parties do come to an impasse, as the senator said, the arbitrator would be empowered to make binding decisions on the outstanding issues in collective bargaining. The constitutional amendment is required in order to ensure that what the arbitrator's decision says goes into the budget bill. Similarly, if the parties do come to an agreement, it will require the governor to put the results of the agreement into the budget bill. Once it gets to the General Assembly, of course, you all still have your authority since question 1 was passed to modify that amount, but the constitutional amendment is necessary to require the governor to put that in. And then finally, just one point, as the senator suggested, binding arbitration doesn't mean it'll go to binding arbitration every year. Arbitrators are conservative and everybody knows this. It really does provide a stronger incentive for everybody to work together and reach a mutually acceptable resolution before an arbitrator is necessary. And I'm happy to answer any technical
I
questions.
do have a
that
real
people
quick
have.
question, just because I just want to clarify something you said. You said because of question 1, which theoretically we then could increase the amount. I presume we could also decrease the amount too.
Yes, under this bill, the constitutional amendment passes, the General Assembly could increase or decrease the amount in either the arbitration award or the memorandum of understanding.
Thank you.
We would certainly always, support increasing it. Good afternoon. My name is Denise Gilmore, and I'm the Legislative Director for AFSCME Council 3 here in support of SB 188. We represent 45,000 state, county, and municipal workers across Maryland, many of whom already have binding interest arbitration during their contracts at the county and municipal levels or at the MTA, Maryland Transit Administration. We want to thank Senator McCray for introducing this. I really want to talk about how this is a good government bill. Having long drawn out negotiations doesn't benefit anyone, not the worker, not management, not taxpayers. Ensuring that there's an actual terminating point to these negotiations is a good government measure. In higher ed, legislation passed by the General Assembly enabled us to begin negotiating a consolidated agreement with the USM in February of 2022. Today, in January of 2024, almost 2 full years later, we still do not have a consolidated agreement with the USM. Some of the issues that we disagree on at this point offer us, little to no resolution without an impasse proceeding like binding arbitration. The USM insists, for instance, that the terms we negotiate in the consolidated agreement do not actually cover our represented employees at all the campuses. This goes against what the legislator intended and is serving as a huge barrier to ultimately reaching an agreement. We also have a fundamental disagreement on shop stewards and their place in the work site. As it is currently, management can continue to take somewhat absurd positions on these items, and they go unresolved forever. We never reach an agreement. And they spend a fortune doing this by hiring anti-union consultants to negotiate and put up obstacles at the table. And this isn't just an issue with the USM. We just got out of a 3-year contract negotiation at Morgan State University. Regardless of where you are on these issues, you must agree that never-ending negotiations or negotiations that lead to one side doing whatever they want anyways are a huge waste of time, effort, and resources for the union and for management. The right to collectively bargain is a right that is enshrined in our state and federal laws. Our members really need your help this session to fully access these rights finally. Please provide a favorable report. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to, maybe this is for Senator McCray, maybe it's for one of the other witnesses. I mean, I traditionally think of a mandatory arbitration as an alternative to the right to strike. And so that's in the context of public employment where public employees are barred from striking. The argument for binding arbitration seems obvious to me. But obviously in the building trades, there is a right to strike, right? So no.
So with the electricians, because we got what we call Council of Industrial Relations, like we cannot strike. It'll go there and they'll make that final decision.
Right. No, I understand that that's the alternative to it, but I'm trying to understand.
So we have a no strike provision.
You have a no strike.
Yeah, we cannot.
You in the contract have agreed to a no strike provision, exactly. And in lieu of that, you do the binding arbitration. Yeah. It's, both the contractors and the union think it's in their interest together to do that. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That satisfies, but I just here in Maryland, I would just say, we also, it is forbidden for state employees to strike. That isn't necessarily the case in every state. In fact, north of us in Pennsylvania, state employees have the right to strike there. State employees in 9 other states across the country have the right to strike. and have binding arbitration. In total, there are 26 states in the District of Columbia that allow binding interest arbitration for employees. This really is pretty commonplace, I'd say, at this point in the public sector too.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Cherish Vick, and I am the Secretary Treasurer for AFSCME Maryland Council 3. I'm a caseworker under DHS. I've worked for vulnerable adults for all of my career. My story is similar to many state and higher education employees who have worked for the state as long as me. The number of years we've worked does not match the salary schedule we should be on. Because of years of missteps, we've worked for 15 plus years, but only get paid as though we've worked for half the time. As state employees, we understand sacrifice. I started working for DHS at the start of the Great Recession. During that time, state employees gave back over $5 billion in pay and benefits to help balance the budget. We negotiated a furlough plan with the administration to stave off major layoffs, but in 2015 to 2019, when we were no longer in a recession and the state was maintaining big surpluses every year, we hoped to get some fair increases to make up for all that we had lost and keep up with the rising costs of living around us. Unfortunately, this was not Governor Hogan's plan. He was able to manipulate the weak impasse procedure we have currently to run down the clock on negotiations and then implement whatever he wanted anyways. In 2017, we went through the non-binding fact-finding process after the governor rejected our reasonable COLA and step proposals. The fact finder ruled in our favor, and the governor's budget that was released the following session still did not have the recommended raises in it. The impact of this today is record staffing shortages and salaries that remain too uncompetitive to fill much needed positions. When we don't have enough staff, overtime costs increase, waiting lines for services get longer, and caseloads get larger and larger. If states like Pennsylvania, Nebraska, Texas, and Wyoming can provide for binding interest arbitration for state employees, I should have those same rights here in Maryland. I'm asking for a favorable report on Senate Bill 188. Thank you.
Once again, Senator Rosepep hit the button before me. I got to work on that. Training. I got it. Mr. Chairman, I've been a part of this effort for a while, as has Senator McCray. Look, I think the thing that we've all learned, I have served under that umbrella of having binding arbitration throughout my entire career. A couple of benefits to that. One, it makes sure that all parties are at the table as necessary. Is oftentimes there are challenges getting one or both of the parties at the table. Two, an arbitrator is never going to make you give something you don't have. And I think I'm glad that our chairperson, our chairman caught the statement by our panel regarding the amount of awards, because as I have lived with this process, a body is not going to be required to give what they don't have. And thirdly, and most importantly, look, the inability to strike is a valuable one. A lot of folks use the binding because it's not consistent across the country, to believe, as Senator Rosepep mentioned, that there, with binding arbitration, you still had the right to strike. But I think, hopefully we can get this across the line. I think it will require folks to get to the table. We have used pieces of legislation or have amended bills to make sure that we could get parties to the table in the past. And I think that energy could be better served by having the parties at the table to negotiate, so we can get show our appreciation for the employees and make sure that we're providing the services necessary. So that's just my comment. But I think this is a good bill. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Senator. You have more on your panel? Anyone else? This is it. Did you have to testify?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Oh, are those?
They're the other side.
Okay. Yeah, I have Sherry Rojas. I only have one for.
Yes, one way.
Is that right? Oh, wait a minute. Favorable with amendments?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I have two favorable with amendments. Uh,
For the record, we support these amendments.
oh, okay. Michael Hayes.
Yes,
And-
thank you so much.
And
Chairman
Erica
Guzzo.
Snipes?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Guzoni. Thank you, Vice Chair Rosa Pepe. I am Michael Hayes. I'm the Chair of Maryland's Public Employee Relations Board. As was stated, this is favorable with amendments, and so we do support the binding arbitration. The board of the bill. I'm here, we've submitted written testimony on a couple amendments that we think would be actually helpful to employees and employers. And we also submitted the same amendment language that the Labor Relations Board submitted last year. I'm here just to respectfully request that you give the Public Employee Relations Act, which the Senate and the House passed last year, give it a chance to work. We at the Public Employee Relations Board are doing our part. We hired two experienced, talented, and very hardworking investigators. And the amendment that we're concerned with is to say that an arbitrator can play a role in preventing bad faith bargaining by either party and the sharing of information, which is so important to bargaining. And we have the same jurisdiction. It's an unfair labor practice to engage in bad faith bargaining. It's an unfair labor practice to not provide requested information. And we have a 30-day expedited investigation period to complete investigations of either one. And our investigators have done that. And gotten good results. So we feel that introducing another third party, this arbitrator, into that process would actually delay resolving those issues, delay bargaining, and we asked to consider the amendment to not do that. The only other amendment we propose is there's mediation and there's arbitration. If anyone has any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them, but thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity. I, of course, support everything our chair says and would just reiterate that creating a duplicative and possibly conflicting process in terms of deciding an unfair labor practice matter, both in the context of negotiations with an arbitrator and possibly with PERB, is not working with the idea of streamlining labor relations processes and making this work more efficient, which you did with the creation of PERB. So I would respectfully ask that in passing this bill that you would consider the amendments that we've offered with the submitted testimony. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. Questions for this group? Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Sherry Rojas. You can tell me how I messed your name up now.
Sherry Rojas.
Oh, I got it.
You did get it. Not many people do get it right. Good afternoon, Chair Gazelle and Vice Chair Rosa Papp and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to offer testimony on SB 188. My name is Sherry Rojas. I'm the Director of Labor for the University System of Maryland office. The USM submitted written testimony, so I'll try to be brief. Collective bargaining has existed for employees of the USM's 12 institutions for more than 20 years. The existing statutory process works. For the past 2 decades, the institutions have successfully negotiated in good faith with their exclusive representatives, and in almost every instance reached agreement on an MOU without the need for third-party intervention. In the past 2 years alone, 7 separate MOUs have been successfully negotiated and ratified at the institutions. And as many of you know, the USM is currently engaged in consolidated bargaining with AFSCME over a very first MOU that will be applicable to 15 units across 9 institutions. The parties have worked hard over the past 16 months under an entirely new process that went into effect only 2 years ago. And the USM believes that the parties have made tremendous and real progress, reaching tentative agreement in December on a wage package.
This bill seemingly attempts to fix a problem that doesn't exist and proposes an additional substantial shift in the bargaining process right as we'd be concluding this first consolidated bargaining cycle. More importantly, the bill would cede the authority of the governor and legislature over budgetary decisions and priorities to a single third-party arbitrator, someone who's neither accountable to the public nor subject to the consequences of their decisions. The arbitrator would have the authority to unilaterally make an award regarding employee wages, requiring expenditure of tax dollars, which could have a harmful impact on the state's budget. The ability to utilize a third-party neutral already exists through the current fact-finding process, which is not insignificant and can be used to effectively bring an impasse to resolution. The existing process should be maintained. For all of these reasons, and in addition to the information provided in our written testimony, the USM would respectfully ask for an unfavorable report on SB 188 as written. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. It sounds from what you're saying that you disagree with the previous testimony, which was that in fact, the proposal does not restrain the General Assembly from changing the result of an agreement or a decision by the arbiter. You disagree with the bill? You disagree with the previous witness? You think it does?
The way that I read the bill is that this would be a binding decision and would be required to be implemented based on that arbitrator's decision.
Where in the language of the bill does it indicate that?
Well, I think all throughout the bill, it talks about this being a binding decision that is required to be implemented. It's required to be put into the governor's
in the governor's budget. But the issue the previous witness has said, it would be required to be put in the governor's budget, but it would not constrain the General Assembly, and we're the ones who are in charge of the money, from either increasing or decreasing or keeping the same way. That was the earlier testimony.
I understand the earlier testimony. I'm not sure that I agree with the earlier testimony. Again, this is binding. The language in the bill says that the parties would be required to take the actions necessary to implement the terms of what the arbitrator has decided.
Okay, thank you. Second question. Why is it taken so long to not complete the system-wide agreement?
So the consolidated collective bargaining negotiations, the bill was passed and went into effect in January of 2022. The parties did not begin the negotiation process until August of 2022. This is a very first consolidated MOU, a very new MOU under this process. And on average, and I think that the union would agree, there are studies that show a first contract typically takes well over a year to complete. And so we have been working very hard throughout the process to reach agreement. As I've mentioned, we've reached tentative agreement on a wage package, which is a huge deal in the process of collective bargaining negotiations. The parties agreed to take a little bit of a break over the holidays, and we're resuming those negotiations at the end of this week to try and wrap this process up and get agreement on the remaining non-economic provisions that remain to be negotiated.
One last question, Mr. Chairman. Is my understanding correct that under the current law, there is no deadline? And so you could be back here next session and you still don't reach agreement under the law. Now, you say you want to get it done sooner, great, but with the absence of binding arbitration, I think it's the case that I've seen this in other situations with other employers, well, frankly, with the university system as well, that if there's absolute authority by one side and they don't want to come to an agreement, they can just not come to an agreement for a long period of time. Is that your understanding of the current law?
The current law has a fact-finding process that the parties can avail themselves of if they reach impasse and need assistance in trying to resolve that impasse. The law also provides that contracts are to be effective. They have to be based on the fiscal year. And so the parties are supposed to try and conclude negotiations before the end of December so that whatever necessary funding is needed to support those provisions can be included in the governor's budget.
And that's what has not happened in this case. Is that correct?
We have reached a tentative agreement on
the money,
wages,
but not the rest of it.
which is what would be required to be included in the
I see.
governor's
Okay,
budget.
thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Correct.
Chairman.
Yeah.
Senator McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't want to make it a back and forth, but I did want to recognize that I did get an AG's opinion on December 2022. of December 22nd of 2023. And I just want to read one sentence that was put in there. Moreover, the draft bill does not purport to limit the General Assembly in the exercise of its constitutional powers to increase, diminish, or add the items to the budget bill. So I just wanted to lean in and say that.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Concludes testimony on that bill. Senator Hayes? Did I startle you?
No. I'm just so excited to come up here to the.
I'm so excited that you brought a host of witnesses for this.
Indeed. Look, Senator Antonio Hayes, for the record, I applaud the Budget and Tax Committee for jumping straight in and going for the golden rod with all these hearings today. I do not envy you, so I will be as brief as possible, as it's been a long day for all of you. A couple of years ago in 2021, I introduced a piece of legislation called Live Near Your School. At this time, I think the legislation was heard in what we remember as EHE. And so there was an arbitrary sunset placed on this bill. Essentially, those of you may be more familiar with the program called Live Near Your Work, whereas employers provide down payment assistance and help employees gain home ownership. This bill, Live Near Your School, leverage the world-class institutions that we have here in Maryland and make a valid attempt at trying to keep that brain trust here in our state. Just as an example, Baltimore City has a population of about 585,000 residents. There's about 100,000 college students, just almost about 20%, that come to Baltimore every year and get educated. And then they often go out, come and get the world-class education that our institutions here in Maryland have to offer, and then they go back to their respective states. This creates yet another opportunity to have them settle here in Baltimore as a student in undergrad or after they graduate. And so the bill says students who are here in the state of Maryland that's getting their education in the Institute of Higher Education, a public institution, or have graduated within 5 years can get assistance with purchasing the home. And conversations with Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, there is a need for some funding to market the program. They already have some tools in their tool belt, such as the Maryland Mortgage Program and others that can be repurposed, reprogrammed, remarketed for this purpose. And so in the bill, you'll see a mandatory appropriation for $200,000, what they estimate will help pay for such a person. The other tools that would be needed is down payment assistance. They have a body of different tools that could be managed in that way, one of which that we've been exercising over the last couple of years, whether it be the seed anchor institution funding or other funding resources to leverage for this purpose. But bottom line, the Live Near Your Work program has worked successfully here in the state of Maryland. The Live Near Your School has the same potential to give opportunity for students, especially those who are not achieving a certain level of income, to purchase homes close and nearby to the communities in which they educated. And with that, members of Budget and Tax Committee, I urge a favorable report for Senate Bill 90.
Thank you. Questions for the senator who keeps showing up in our committee? Second time today. Yeah.
Second time today. Well, first time testifying. Love to hang out with you guys. It's a fun bunch. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
Thank you, Senator. Okay. Let's see how we do with the next senator. Senator Washington.
Save the best for last. I love it.
Absolutely. This is Senate Bill 21.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are some, I believe there's one person testifying on Zoom today. Mr. McKinney, Coach McKinney should be on there as well. So if you can recognize him and pull him in.
We will.
I just wanted to make sure.
Oh.
I just texted him to tell him to come back. Thank you. For the record, Senator Alonzo Washington here to speak on SB 21. Here in the great state of Maryland, we have a long storied history of athletes graduating from our public schools and going on to achieve greatness at college and professional level. But right now, as you all know, the playing field is not leveled. There are dozens of high schools here in Maryland who have not had significant athletic stadium renovations in over a decade. This limits opportunities for our students. To begin addressing this longstanding problem, I'm proposing SB 21, which is a similar bill to what I introduced last year. As amended, it requires the interagency commission on school construction to conduct a comprehensive study analyzing the current condition of public high school athletic and physical education facilities here in the state. In conducting the study, the ISC must consult with the local school systems. The ISC must report its findings and recommendations to the governor and the General Assembly by later this year. While this is a huge issue in my home district, a jurisdiction in Prince George's County, we have seen this as a problem across the state. I've spoken with many athletic directors in many counties who are asking for more investments. Here are a few examples. In Charles County, Southern Maryland, of 14 public high schools in Southern Maryland, only North Point High School has a modern field renovation. In Montgomery County, Northwood High School, Damascus High School, and recent 4A football champions Quince Orchard High School have all publicly expressed the need for a new stadium. Baltimore County, Woodlawn High School, Loch Raven High School, and Kenwood High School are all seeking new fields. In other states like Texas, they build stadiums worth $72 million. We need this comprehensive study completed so school officials, lawmakers, and general public have a better understanding of the need for improved athletic facilities. Once the commission has assessed the problem, we authorize in this bill for there to be a multi-million-dollar investment in improving the athletic facilities for these schools. As I said, I proposed this bill last year. There are some amendments that I would like to see in the bill, particularly extending the ability for IAC to be able to conduct the study on a longer term, and also to be able to make sure these, in the study, I believe that we'll be able to see the parity or the lack of equity in how our school systems are building these new stadium facilities throughout the state of Maryland. And for these reasons, I respectfully request a favorable report on SB 21. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions for Senator? Mr. McKinney?
Yes.
Yeah, you can begin.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to speak on is in the situation that I am in as a head football coach at Duval High School. When I have my student athletes participate in football and athletic programs that we have within our school, there is a lack of pride that they have within their school based off their facilities. These kids come from middle schools where they may be classmates with students that will go to Bowie High School or Flowers High School or Roosevelt High School, which is about a mile away from our school. And those schools have nicer facilities than we have at our school. And it has been something that has been an issue within our programs, our athletic programs, since I've been the head coach at the school.
You keep going, Mr. McKinney.
Okay. So this bill is definitely needed to not only enhance the facilities so they aren't such an eyesore within the community, but it's been a situation where I've had players each year get hurt playing on these fields. We've had spectators get hurt in the bleachers because they are the original bleachers from the building of the school in 1959. Our school has no lights. In the history of Duval High School, they have never had a Friday night game. Our school doesn't have a turf field. I've had two of my best players break bones in the last game of the season heading into the playoff. I had one of my best players, he stepped in a hole on the field and broke his ankle. And another player who was a senior, and it was senior day, he fell down on the ground and broke his femur.
You can keep going, sir.
Okay, so these are issues that have been big problems within our program and at our school. So these are some things that I feel that if this bill is adopted, that this would be a tremendous boost to not only the morale of the student athletes at our school, but give them a sense of pride and self-respect in the facilities that they have in comparison to the other schools.
Very good. Thank you for your testimony. Questions for Coach? Okay, we have, it looks like we have another one coming. Yep. Jordan. Backham Colbert.
Yes, good afternoon. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, greetings, Chair Gazone and Vice Chair Rosa Pep and the entire Budget and Taxation Committee. My name is Jordan Backham Colbert, and I'm the Government Affairs Liaison in the Office of General Counsel for the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. Prince George's County Planning Board has not taken a position on this bill as of yet. However, our staff has made recommendations to submit written informational testimony for the record. This bill in its current form seeks to invest in student athletes in Prince George's County. The Prince George's County Department of Parks and Recreation is a strong proponent of investing in youth athletics and the overall wellness of students in Prince George's County. The department welcomes opportunities to enhance our relationship with Prince George's County Public School System, and we kindly look forward to collaborating regarding community use and public sports amenities. Again, my name is Jordan. Should you have any questions regarding our written testimony, please do not hesitate to contact me, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Questions? Thank you very much, Senator. Thank you for that bill. We're going to move on to the next bill, and we're fortunate to have Senator Augustine join us from EEE. This is Bill 79. Senator Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, this is Senator Alonzo Washington. I'll be much more brief on this bill. This is Senate Bill 79. This bill prohibits the use of state appropriations to fund any magnetic levitation transportation system within the state of Maryland, except expenditures for salaries of personnel assigned to review permits or forms of approval for the system itself. For years, this has been an idea by a private entity that has said that they wanted to build a maglev train from New York to DC and go through Prince George's County, make stops in Baltimore City, make stops in DC, but not in our county in Prince George's. This system will cost between 13.8 billion to 16.8 billion. The folks who own the private entity that wants to build this has said many times that to us as a public that they do not need public dollars to build this system. I want to hold them to account for that and for that statement that they do not need state funding to build this magnetic transportation system. And so I have a bill in front of you that has been proposed multiple times in multiple years by my predecessor and the cross-filed in the House side. We've worked on this for over 6 or 7 years through Senator Benson, through other senators to try to stop this from displacing so many different residents in our districts and in our county. And so you'll see people on the call that also support this measure because it is not needed. We believe the MARC train does exactly what this is trying to do in our state, and it's just not needed in this area. I believe there's opportunities elsewhere in this country, but not here in the state of Maryland. So I'm asking that we hold their feet to the fire by saying that they do not need state dollars and making sure that our tax dollars from the taxpaying citizens here in the state of Maryland, that we do not invest in another failed P3. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Questions for Senator? Yeah. Senator James.
Question. I understand the concern with this particular project. And I'm looking at the bill saying, why not tailor it so it's affecting this triple P project? What about other mass transit projects in the future with technology? We're dealing with the Red Line in Baltimore City, and who knows, they come along and say, hey, you know what, we can actually upgrade the MARC system to this new magnetic levitation, you know, I just see it could cause us in the future to say, nope, well, it's illegal. We can't do that. Whereas just tailoring this bill to be specific to this project.
Senator, if I'm open to amendment if you want to make an amendment that talks about the specific project itself that our community has for years, nearly a decades, has rejected. If you want to put that in this bill as an amendment and finally move this bill after 6 to 7 years of us introducing it, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay. Senator Benson.
Well, thank you very much. The question I want to ask is, are we talking here about the train itself, or are we talking about the path of the train?
That's a great question, Senator Benson. We are talking about the path of the train itself in here, but we also believe that this is a way of making sure that we know that we're talking about this train in particular, like this train going through our communities, going under multiple thousands of houses along the Baltimore-Washington Parkway. We know it's going to displace multiple residents. We know that the cost is extremely high. This bill just simply says we do not want our state dollars invested into this private project.
Okay, because you know, I was very much involved with the maglev.
Absolutely.
And our concern was not the train. It was the path of the train. The fact that it was becoming through Glen Arden and through that area and would cost, but it was not the train itself. It was the path of the train that we were concerned about. Because when we're talking about the future, we're talking about energy, we're talking about electrical, and you know how the maglev train operates.
Right.
Now it has bumps, it does have some problems. No question about that, because I've done a lot of studying as it pertains to this train. It's not ready right now for prime time, but eventually down the road, it's something that could possibly happen. Now, when we talk about the funding, I mean, a lot of people have been over to see it in Japan. You know, the last administration took a crowd over and this and that. But I'm just kind of concerned as to whether or not we're talking about the train or are we talking about the path of the train?
In this bill, I'm talking about both the path of the train as well as the system itself. We have seen it work in other countries. We have not done it successfully yet, I believe, here in our country yet. So it's still being tested here in the country. I know that there's been possible approvals in Nevada going to LA, which makes sense in that pathway. Makes sense. There's clear ways. There's not a lot of displacement that happens during that route. But under this bill, what we have here, I'm against the technology as it is right now. But I also do not like that it's going through my community, and there's no stopping my community.
Thank
you. Okay, you don't have anyone here who's testified?
Not physically here.
Physically here. We've got, okay, that's fine. Let's do the virtuals. Are there 4 of them? Great. Okay. All right, Susan McCutcheon? McCutcheon.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you.
People put an L in there all the time. I'm not sure why. Good afternoon, members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. If there's a lag, I may have to take my video off. I apologize. My name is Susan McCutcheon, representing the Maryland Coalition for Responsible Transit. We support high-speed steel rail trains. However, and I apologize for the phone ringing, obviously. However, we do not support this particular project. We understand that BWRR is actively seeking additional funding to continue to tap into federal taxpayer funds. A private company, BWRR, repeatedly has stated in their arguments in opposition to this bill that while they do not need state funds, they want them to be available just in case financial support is needed later in the project's implementation. My concern is that now is there later because their federal funds have been fully expended. Furthermore, they proffer the hackneyed argument that such legislation would send the wrong message to developers of innovative forms of transportation and discourage them from doing business with Maryland. The reality is that this bill would address only one specific overblown proposed project that has proven unable to support broad and questionable promises of an influx of good-paying jobs, advanced technology education programs, and the uplifting of environmental justice communities to bring them and the state untold prosperity. Maryland's viable transportation projects that serve our community currently face persistent state funding difficulties. Urgent and practical cost-cutting choices will need to be made. This SC Maglev project, shamelessly promoted as an eventual fast travel option from DC to New York as a convincing selling point, is not the kind of commuter train needed for the Northeast Corridor. Extremely costly, the projected costs will increase exponentially when the actual work is undertaken. Thank you, and I apologize for that little delay.
No problem. Thank you very much. Questions for the witness? Okay. And Kathy, you're gonna have to help me with that one. I'm sorry.
Bartolomeo.
Bartolomeo.
Mayo.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, good afternoon. And my name's Kathy Bartolomeo, living in Greenbelt, Maryland, and in support of SB 79. As the state of Maryland is facing a projected funding deficit of $3.3 billion and possibly higher in the next few years, we need to be very selective as to where we direct our money. With climate a huge concern for Maryland and the funds needed to help mitigate the results of our climate change, we need to push forward with projects that lessen its impact. Transportation for mass transit, pedestrian and bike safety, EV incentives, electrification of buildings, upkeep and improvements to MARC, and the long-awaited red line for Baltimore, where I see funding needed. With a large deficit, it is critical that our legislators direct funding carefully to proven, safe, and sustainable transportation. Currently, we have no assurance that SC Maglev is sustainable. BWR has not shared clear information. It amazes me why this project is still being promoted, most likely by people who would make lots of money from contracts and building. Consider the possibility of SC Maglev project coming to a halt before its completion, with years of lengthy schedule for building, rising costs, delays, permitting, and climate change impacts. What would happen if this project should come to a halt? Maryland would be left with devastated areas and costly funds needed for mitigation. No other state nor country has accepted such a project. It only exists in Japan in a testing track that is still trusted. That should provide great unease. The cost to ride of averaging 40 to 80 for a ticket for a one-way trip to one of the three locations must also include the time and cost of driving and parking for SC Maglev. This makes it very expensive. So most Marylanders would be excluded. We need equitable, accessible transportation infrastructure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Questions? So there's no more favorable. Okay. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
We have a number of individuals signed up for as unfavorable in person. Are there any of them here? You can come forward. Let us know who you are. I've got more than two. I have four.
Chair, my name is Ian Rainey from BWR.
Okay, you can begin.
Thank you very much, Chair Gazzoni, committee members. My name is Ian Rainey. I'm Senior Vice President of Baltimore Washington Rapid Rail, BWRR. I appear before you today to convey our strong opposition to SB 0079. BWRR is a railroad franchised by the Maryland Public Service Commission to operate a 311-mile-per-hour maglev train to connect Washington, D.C. to Baltimore with a stop at BWI in 15 minutes. SB 0079 aims to prohibit any appropriations from being used by the state for a maglev system. One of the main arguments behind this bill appears to be that the Maryland taxpayer should never be on the hook for a project such as ours. And this implies that state funds are better used elsewhere. And we agree that the state should focus on improving state-run transportation projects, which is why we have never asked the legislature for appropriations. Furthermore, as the Federal Railroad Administration noted in the draft environmental impact statement, the project would in fact reduce pressure on existing transportation infrastructure. By alleviating stress on systems like MARC, Amtrak, as well as our congested roadways, taxpayers will benefit from the maglev without the need for state appropriations. Moreover, SB 0079 would signal that the state is closed to innovative, future-oriented solutions to worsening transportation challenges. For these reasons, BWR strongly opposes SB 0079 and urges the committee to submit an unfavorable report. Thank you very much for the opportunity to appear.
Thank you. Whoever would like to go next, just introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Members of the Senate Budget and Taxation, Education, and Health and Environment Affairs Committee. My name is Thurman Jones. As the president of the Patriots Technology Training Center, I am writing to express our organization's strong opposition of SB 0079. For over 25 years, our organization mission has been to empower students through technology by encouraging students to enter promising education and career path in the science, technology, engineering, and math STEM field. The Patriots Technology Training Center have served thousands of students in the region through countless programs like camps, workshops, conferences, mentorship, and partnership with many STEM organizations. We know which project hold promise, but today and tomorrow for our youth. And which project don't. Northeast MagLab represent the promise and with stations and headquarters in the northeast central part of the state of Maryland. This project holds great potential for our younger generation to be part of the most advanced transportation system in the world. Our students will have the ability to learn within an extremely unique technology pipeline. Further, we recognize the project like the South MagLab, would benefit business and citizens for beyond the Baltimore, Washington region. It represents development, community growth for millions along the Northeast corridor. It symbolizes a future with less pollution and more transit-oriented development. SB 009 is a clear attempt to start the magnet, but the legislature will not just negatively impact Northeast MagLab. The Patriots Technology Training cannot support SB 009 as the proposed direct negative impact. Thank you, members of the committee and Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Gazzoni, Chair Feldman, and members of the Senate Budget and Taxation and Education, Energy, and Environmental Committee. I am Joe Gaskins. I'm Chair of the Prince George County Contractors Association, and also I am a advocate for high-speed train. I spent many years working, designing the metro system back in '76, and we did community meetings in the community trying to garner support for metro back there when it was an embryo. And we had a lot of these same concerns when developing the metro system. I can't imagine Washington DC without a metro system. And I'm sure if you looked at it, you could see the importance of thinking progressive and looking forward to the future for your kids and your grandkids. You should leave nothing on the table or put any barriers in place of them for not making promises, decisions when they become delegates and senators too and sit in your seat and make a decision that holds them back from expanding or making a system better by putting roadblocks initially in front of them, telling them what they can and cannot do. So for dollar amount, environmental impacts, this project is worth about 4 billion at a 30% clip for minority and women-owned businesses in the state of Maryland. It is one of the largest economic engines that you ever see to hit this quarter. And to be able to travel to Baltimore in 15 minutes and to get to New York in less than an hour, it's unbelievable. So I urge you to look at this and pull this bill. It does not make sense. Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee chairs and members. My name is Adrian Harpool. I'm here representing the My Minority Business Counts initiative, which is composed of a number of organizations, including the Washington Urban League, Baltimore Urban League, Associated Black Charities, the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce, the Baltimore City Black Chamber of Commerce, Howard County Chamber of Commerce, and a number of organizations that support Black entrepreneurship. I've submitted a written testimony, so I won't read that here now, but I do want to, I heard earlier someone alluded to the red line. And as a Baltimorean, I remember the excitement around that, the potential development that it represented, not just in the path, but the surrounding communities, the number of jobs that were slated. We're almost ready to put a shovel in the ground. Previous administration pulled the plug, derailed that project pretty much in its first week, turning back nearly $1 billion of federal funds to support that. While this project is not immediately requesting dollars from the state, the conversation is about the possibility in the future of the state supporting this project financially. I've been in two varied efforts in the last 10 years, 20 years in this region. I was on the committee with Baltimore and Washington. It was attempting to get the 2024, ironically, Olympics here for this region. It's in Paris this spring. And one of the major reasons that we were not selected was because of our transportation system and the challenges in getting from New York and up and down the East Corridor to this area. Likewise, the World Cup was considering this region as well. And one of the major reasons for making the decision not to come here was transportation. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today.
Thank you. Questions for this panel? Yeah, I think we have the one person on virtual. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Right. Mr. Lambert?
Yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairman. Good afternoon, Vice Chair and members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. My name is Miguel Lambert, and I appreciate the opportunity to express my concern on Senate Bill 79. I'm the CEO of Bulldog Distribution Trucking. We are a certified minority-owned business based in Prince George County. I'm also a resident of Prince George County for the last 20 years. Bulldog has been in business since 2010 and established a reputation for itself as a trusted trucking company and material supplier. Bulldog primarily specializes in providing premium truck hauling and construction services on heavy infrastructure projects. We have grown from a single truck to over 20 trucks and with a full administrative staff. I'm here testifying in opposition of Senate Bill 79. I have recently become a board member of Maryland Transportation Builder and Materials Association. And while they're of course opposed to this legislation, I'm here to take a different approach in my opposition. As you all are aware, our transportation system is in a crisis. While I have no relationship with the Northeast Maglev and no deal with them, I recognize that this is exactly the kind of project that would be very important and very beneficial for small businesses like mine. We are struggling. The jobs are just not there. As I mentioned, we are a minority business that could offer services to this project. I understand that they will need a lot of trucking, a lot of construction material. Bulldog is ready to work. This bill is very short-sighted. Why would the state be against the project like the maglev train, which is being done with private funding? I appreciate you taking the time to hear my testimony, and I respectfully ask for an unfavorable report on Senate Bill 79. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Questions for this witness? Okay, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time today. That concludes the hearing on that last bill for the day. And thank you, Senator.
Thank you, guys.